Good afternoon. We're here to have presentations by 3 different companies that are interested in building our replacement sheriff's office and modernization to the project jail. Lord, it's such a long title. Anyway, Jalen, I'm going to turn it over to you right now. And Joel, you and I will blub that in later.
Of course. Well, good afternoon. Grateful to be here. Like you said, we're here to interview the finalists for the CM at Risk. So we have 3 firms here. First firm is McCarthy Barnsley. Just a kind of reminder, 20 minutes for a presentation, 30 minutes for Q&A, and then we'll have 10 minutes to transition. So with that, I'll turn it over to the McCarthy Barnsley team.
Thank you, Jalen. Good afternoon. I'm Rob Schulten with McCarthy Barnsley, and we're excited to be here today. When we sat down, when this RFP came out, we sat down and we said, what will define total project success? And we sat around the table and we talked about it, and we came up with 3 kind of pillars, and you're going to hear about those today. And the first is, we've got a $60 million budget. And that budget's not negotiable. That's how much money we have to get the job done. And so that's the first thing we need to focus on. The second is we have a non-negotiable program. So we know that we need our female housing beds. We know that we need our 66 medical mental health beds. We know that we need a modern sheriff's office, not just an office building, but a building that is truly a law enforcement center with all those things that make that successful. And then we know that we've got some critical renovations to the existing facility that we want to make, both aesthetically and operationally. Those things have to happen. And then lastly, we know that we want to open this facility in the fall of 2028. We set ourselves a deadline of August 2028. We started with August and worked backwards to make sure that we had plenty of time to get the facility open, get inmates moved around, get the sheriff's office folks moved back in, and could really turn the facility over in the fall. And you'll see later in the presentation that not only did we meet that, but we've actually exceeded that date and given ourselves a little extra time. So I'm
sorry to interrupt you, and I'll give you extra time. Okay, IT, we cannot see what's on their PowerPoint presentation. Oh, there you are. You were over there. I was like... So I'm sorry.
You're
I don't
good.
want to mess up your
I'm glad. You need to see this. It's
but we can't see.
riveting stuff.
I don't know that you're going to be able to.
I just want to make sure, if not, we all need to know that we have to turn around.
I don't know that you're going to be able to, but we'll see.
Well, most of what's up there is in here.
Well, I don't know what they're,
We'll see.
Yeah,
in fairness, I don't want them thinking we're seeing something we're not seeing.
we'll figure it out.
Challenges.
There we go.
There it
Yeah,
is.
it's,
We got a good IT department too, by the way.
Well,
Yeah, we're
and
in
Joel, I need Joel, if I make a mistake, to be able to come.
No, it's almost a
fix that.
100-year-old building, so here we are. Okay, thank you.
We're on it.
Okay, rewind.
All right.
Deep breath, you can begin.
Okay, no problem. It was a good place to pause anyway. So we consider ourselves to be Georgia's county jail expert, and I thought I would take 90 seconds and try to tell you how we got here today and what that really means. So right about 25 years ago, I started building county jails. And at the very same time, Steve was there with us, and we were both building county jails throughout Georgia. And for up until 2016, with another firm, we were building county jails and put almost 10,000 beds in together, with Kip, who you'll meet here in a minute as well, and Tyler. In 2016, we went out and formed Barnsley Construction Group to be a contractor who is focused on building in the secure environment. This is what we do. We work in jails and prisons. We work in inside the fence at the airport. We generally work places where you have to go through a background check, get into the building to be there, and where there's a fence to keep people in and out. Since that time, we've working on or have put in place 7,500 beds in the state of Georgia, almost entirely county jail beds. We do some prison renovation and some consulting for the state prison system and the Department of Juvenile Justice as well. So this is what we do. This is all we do. And the reason why that's important is when you build in the corrections environment, about 40% of what you put in place comes from a national group of detention contractors. Those materials, those doors, those locks, they're different than commercial doors and locks, the electronic security, all those folks, and you got to have relationships with them. In 2026, Barnsley will buy right at 3,500 detention locks if nothing else changes. So as you can imagine, we have the attention of those folks, of those specialty market folks. And so we think that that gives us the advantage to be able to get folks here. In fact, we've had a conversation with a prefabricated detention cell manufacturer who has committed to us that if we were to win this job and it was to be, that was the design that it would be, and it kind of fits what we've seen so far, that they would commit to having us cells in 10 weeks, and they would make them ahead of the time and store them for us for free. That's the kind of relationship we have in that market and why we think that that's important. So I'm going to hand it off to the rest of the team to talk about your project, and look forward to talking with you in a little bit.
All right, thank you. So you heard from Rob. My name is Kyle Orr. I'm the Vice President of Operations with McCarthy Barnsley. I'm quickly going to just introduce the team. Steve Langdon will be your project director. Tyler Isgett will be your pre-construction executive. Carter Schmidt is our senior project manager. And Mr. Kip Wooten is the best senior superintendent that I know. Sorry. On this slide, you'll see there are some people that are not in the room. This is the rest of our team that's proposed for the job. When we looked at the composition of this team, we looked at three primary things that if I were sitting in your shoes, I would be concerned about for this project. Is the first, has everybody on this team built a county jail and administrative center? For us, every person on that slide has built one of those. They're experienced, they know what they're doing. The second, has this team worked together? Especially in a joint venture, it's difficult. You're bringing two companies together. It takes like a time to mesh. I can say that every person on that team has worked together, and in many cases are still working together on other projects. Finally, I'd be concerned, is this team that you're showing me the actual team that's going to build my job? Well, my job is to make sure that you have the resources that you need, and I'm here to guarantee you that every person that you see on this slide is going to be the people that are boots on the ground that you're going to be dealing with day to day.
Thanks, Kyle. As you mentioned, I'm Tyler Isgett. I'm the pre-construction director, and I'll be responsible for making sure that we meet that $60 million budget. It is my guarantee that we will, and I want to tell you how we do that. First, it starts with experience. We talked about that earlier, right? So I'm not pricing hotels. I'm not pricing retail shopping centers. Like, I am every day communicating, putting together spreadsheets and talking cost on detention locks, modular cell systems, sheriff's offices. That's what I do, and that's what I know, right? So, and there's a reason that almost every county in Georgia, when they need a jail addition or a sheriff's office, they call Barnsley and they want to talk to me and ask, how much should we plan for that budget? Because we have that type of reputation in the market and we know what things cost. How does that translate for this on this particular project? Well, it starts with the design and directing the design, right? So we want to utilize that experience to tell them, draw this and draw it this way, and this is how you will meet the budget, and this is how you get the most bang for your buck, right? I also, I kind of refer to myself as the fine point Sharpie for the architect, and sometimes even the eraser when they draw things that aren't necessarily adding value to the project, so that we make sure we hit those target values that we assign to the job. And I have built this $60 million budget already. I know what this building looks like. If we were awarded the project tomorrow, I could sit down with Nelson and Karen specifically on the design team, and I can sketch out exactly what I think this needs to look like, how we can get it in budget. That's what we've already done so far, and I think that's how we do that. And when we do that, we draw it once, and we don't have to go back and redo things, right? And that means we've got confidence in the market and not over-exercising people. We're not value engineering. We're doing it once. We're doing it right. We're meeting the schedule. Just to talk a little bit about your project and some of the things that I see that drive cost on sheriff's office buildings. that we've done in the past, and specifically for this program. About 50% of this program is really specific and unique types of space. It's not just office space. It is space that has a unique function for law enforcement, and that starts with chain of custody. So evidence rooms, criminal investigation division, the lab, the storage, all these things have special systems, and it's not just a box with a regular HVAC system. It's so important that we get those systems right. We know how to do that. An example of that is we're currently doing the City of Fayetteville's new police station. Well, the current police station, which we did not build, was built a long time ago. When you walk in the front door as a public person into the police station, it smells like marijuana. And that's because they're not ventilating the evidence room properly. And that's some of examples of things that can happen with if you don't do it right the first time, which is our goal, to do it right once. Moving into the jail building, some of the things that we talk about that drive cost as well. We immediately look at this elevation where we're 10 foot below where the current housing tower is. And so we've got some ideas about how to address that.
So why this is important for you is that medical and mental health area needs to be on the main floor of the building. If you've got a instance where an occupant needs to get out of the building quickly, it needs to be on the main floor. It does not need to be waiting for elevators, moving them around. And someone else that may not understand the systems think that you could just flip this and put the housing building underneath, and you can't. The housing building has 2 levels of cells. The floor-to-floor height of that level is probably about 25 feet. So if you put that underneath, you'd be digging in the ground. So we think this is the right approach to the project, and we budgeted accordingly.
Right, and so this is the budget that I put together. I've already told you about. I know exactly what each of these particular systems and functions should cost and how we drive the design team to deliver that. But once again, I want to remind everybody that it's not just about these 2 buildings, it's about a complete and entire functional complex, right? We've got to integrate this to the existing facility, and then finally we've got to make sure that we are noticeably bringing forward the significance of this project and the monumental work that's happening in these buildings, and the buildings need to reflect that from the exterior skin, right? So that skin of that admin building is so important, but it's also so important that the existing housing tower receive the same amount of treatment, right? We're talking about one whole system and one whole thing that needs to look and be built the right way.
Thanks, Tyler. So I want to reintroduce myself. I'm Steve Langdon, the project director. My role in the project is to lead the team from pre-construction through occupancy. I built my first jail in the 90s, and I've been building with this team and your architect for 25 years. And in those 25 years, we've created great relationships with both the specialty correctional market and local Carroll County subcontractors. And in anticipation of this project, we've already reached out to most of these subcontractors, and they already have made commitments to us to chase the project competitively to us. And you'll be hard stretched to find anybody that has better relationships than we do. I'll go on to say that you won't find anybody that has better relationships with the market. And to that end, why that's important to you all is 2 things. One, those relationships are going to get us the best prices. Those subcontractors know who we are. We know that we will be efficient with their time, and therefore they will be cheaper to us on bid day, which translates to better price for you. And 2 is schedule. We know we have a very tight schedule on this project, and these vendors, based on those relationships, are going to move us to the front of the line. Get doors on time, cells on time, locks on time, faster than any of our competitors they can get.
You have 5 minutes left.
So I'm Carter Schmitz. I'll be brief. So schedule-wise, obviously this job is critical to get open in the fall. And as Rob said, we're gonna work back from August, and in sitting down with Kip and looking at this, we feel even more confident that we can deliver this job in the July-ish, June timeframe. And what that means is this early involvement in pre-construction, where Kip and I are working with Tyler and his team throughout that whole process to procure materials early. It does several things for the project. It lets us get budget certainty. It allows us to get that schedule certainty. We worked on the Walton County job, and we're able to procure $42 million worth of equipment before we ever broke ground, right through COVID. And so that was, a very big benefit to the overall project and ensuring that we hit that budget. One more thing to hit on quickly is just the detention aspect. Turning that over is not like turning over another building. There's a lot of commissioning and activation that has to happen, and we've given ourselves 3 months on the back end of this schedule and are still confident in these dates that we can do that. And why that's so complicated, I'll let Kip get into the detail why that's so complicated and that time is truly needed. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm Kip Wooden. I'll be the general super on site every day. I'm the one out there getting dirty. What you see on the board right now is just an idea of the amount of spaghetti we put under slabs. Operate all these doors, cameras, motion detectors, intercoms, locks. Having subcontractors that know what they're doing is a huge help. You can go out here and hire anybody to put that in, and it'll be fine until you realize that you got to put a bollard in there to protect that corner of that wall or something. You core a hole in there, you've messed up 10 conduits. Mm-hmm. You've just bought yourself 6 more weeks of work at your expense. It's things like this that I do on site every day, talking with the contractors, making sure the electricians are looking at bollard plans. That's not something they do out here in the real world. But in this detention arena, these are things that we follow through on. Looking at your site, the active facility, I personally have been on 2, and the one in Oconee County at Watkinsville, we built that new building 6 feet away from the existing jail and kept 911 operational, the jail operational, and the post office all at the same time. Mm-hmm. So giving you access and keeping everybody operational without affecting also your neighbors. I know you got the Board of Commissioners, the health departments around there, getting our truck routes in and having access to that without creating issues for their businesses is also a huge priority for me. The very main thing, though, is that whatever we do construction-wise, we never impede on the safety or security of that facility. The staff, the occupants, and all of the sheriff's team has to be inside, secure. We don't leave ladders. We don't let fences be left open. People don't go where they're not supposed to go. So that is something we are very aware of, and it is a daily operation for us to make sure that don't happen, to protect the existing facility and keep it moving.
And to that point, I mean, our job is to coordinate 30 to 40 subcontractors on this site. And so we're experts at that, keeping the job safe, keeping the job running. This is what we do.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm going to try to wrap up here. I got a minute or so left.
You've got 2 minutes.
All right, perfect. So I hope you heard some of those pillars that we talked about. We are contractors, and we want to come out and spend 20 months building it, and we're trying to tell you about that in 20 minutes. It's kind of tough, but absolutely going to maximize the budget. And one of the most important things we can do there is to onboard the pre-construction team immediately. We really need to be sitting down with the Sheriff's Department and Nelson like Monday to make this work, because there's so much that needs to be done to get this right so that those drawings come out at the end of the year and we can make that schedule. So I just think that if I could leave you with one thought, it's that the pre-construction side of this is probably the most important side to getting it right. We know the program, we're going to meet the program, we're going to make sure that that's in the budget, and we're going to meet the schedule. And so I think that's what you're asking for, and I think that we can provide it better than anybody else. And then if I could just have 1 minute at the end of questions and answers to close with that, we're ready to talk.
So
Maybe we should have done 30 minutes of presentation, 20 minutes of questions.
Yeah.
We'll start, why don't we just kind of, I guess, go in order. Montreal, do you have anything right this moment?
No.
Question-wise? Okay, Clint, I think you had some questions, and Tommy, you'll be next.
Thank you all for being here and submitting a bid. I've got several questions, so I'm not looking for long-winded answers. I'm looking for very quick and precise answers, if you can, please. So on the time schedule, you mentioned that several times. You feel confident that the time schedule that's been laid out is something that you can accomplish?
Absolutely.
Okay. Tell me, as briefly as you can, what does construction manager at risk mean to you versus other forms of bidding different projects?
So I think, and I believe in our team, we've instilled it in our team, construction manager at risk means that once you hire us, it is our job to direct the design and make sure that the design, right there in lockstep with the designer, that it gets drawn to a place where it can be in budget and and on schedule, and have all those quality and things that need to be there. We are the kind of check and balance to that. And then once we get to the point where those designs are finished, or about 75% finished, and we say, okay, here's what it's going to cost. And that's where the at-risk piece comes in. Now we own the risk to deliver it at that price and that cost. Did that answer your question?
It did, and that was the main component at the end, is understanding your financial commitment, that this is not a change order type process other than the owner's contingency that may want to go in and change something ourselves that could happen during the process. But if there's a mistake, either with yourself or the architect, that is something that you're pointing at each other and you're not pointing at the owner to write a check.
Yeah, absolutely. The changes come if you change the program, not otherwise.
What do you have as far as a plan review to try to catch mistakes before they happen? You hear a lot of times, or you see a lot of instances where architects will draw things, and all construction companies have different aspects. They may look at it close, and they're pointing out things months in advance. They're looking at things the day before they're supposed to install something to realize it's not going to work. And I understand that you'll be working very closely with the architect in this manner. But what process do you have in place fundamentally to try to catch mistakes and not hold up time lags in the project?
So I think there's two pieces to that. First is on the pre-construction side. We'll actually work within Revit, the design tool that the architect uses, and we will, sometimes our industry tends to say we're going to price it 3 times during pre-construction. That really doesn't work. We need to be looking at that model with the architect every week or so as they're releasing it to their consultants, and we need to be identifying things that have changed and to see if those changes are in lock with what we expected. And we do that using technology that allows us to compare model to model as they're drawing. And like I said, we're doing that week to week, not 3 months away from each other.
Okay, what company processes do you have in place for communication? So one example would be you're going to have a constant communication chain working through RFIs where you're looking at something, you're needing answers back, maybe from the architect, whatever. Give me an example as a company culture. How do you deal with communication?
Okay, so first and foremost, everything's documented and kept in Procore, which is our enterprise software for managing construction, and we're doing that through a very regimented process. However, we start by actually having conversations with folks, picking up the phone and talking and meeting in person with the designers as it's being drawn. But we have both a quality control program during documents, during the design phase, as well as a very regimented quality control and quality assurance program during construction, where, as you mentioned, like an RFI, that as soon as something is noticed by the team that is different, or there's a question, or a subcontractor says, what about this? That then goes into that system. It gets blasted out to all of the stakeholders for notification, but at the same time, we're picking up the phone and we're calling our contact at Nelson or wherever it may be to say, hey, here's what you should expect. And when we ask those questions, we always provide what we think an answer is. So if we say, hey, we don't know that the detail around this door is complete and we've got questions, here's how we think it ought to be answered. That way we're keeping things moving and we're not delaying the process and just throwing our hands up.
And it's not up to me to tell you how to do your job, but something I would be looking for is like Chick-fil-A. It doesn't matter if you're placing your order, you're picking up, whatever, you say thank you. Everyone understands the culture is my pleasure. Same concept here. I would expect a company-wide culture to be, if you get an email, RFI, question, whatever, you've got 8 hours to respond. You got 24 hours to come up with an answer. If in 24 hours you don't have an answer, I expect in 48 hours there to be another level of process. That's what I'm talking about with culture. It's one thing to say we're going to rapidly do something. It's another to have a culture where communication is the forefront, because we all know you're going to run into problems, but communication, if that fails or that's lagging, everything lags. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And your answer isn't wrong, but just so you know what I'm looking for, I'm looking for a company culture around communication that everyone knows the game rules. It's not just get back to me as soon as you can. We've got a timeline and you've got to meet that. Just couple other quick things so the other commissioners can ask questions. If you had one attribute that you feel that you could exclusively offer that either no one else could or that you could do better than someone else, what would be the one attribute in hiring your firm?
Well, I think in this case, it's just experience with this product type. It is different. I would equate it to when you go to your doctor. You go to your doctor and you trust your doctor to do, what they do for you every year when you get your physical. But when you need to go to a cardiologist, you don't go to your regular doctor. You go to your cardiologist because we are that specialist that does this kind of work. We wouldn't be standing in front of you to build your next school or your next, community center. What we're here to do is what we do, and I think that's a unique skill set for us.
Okay. And my final question here is your pricing as you set your fee structure and you laid that out in the documentation. Do you feel that you're competitive? Do you feel that you have things in there that maybe someone else does not, and that's going to show up in a fee structure? Do you feel that your fee structure is negotiable? Give me an idea, besides the number that's there, the methodology of how you created it and how that might compare to other firms.
Sure. So when we set up that fee structure, I think there's a couple of things that are really important. First of all, we don't take that pre-construction piece and discount it to the point where we wouldn't be able to provide the service that we think is so important. Second of all, when we build the staff, we build it around the project and what we know it's going to take to deliver the project. For instance, we've got a separate team doing the detention from the ones doing the sheriff's office, because they're going to be happening nearly at the same time, and we don't want somebody to be distracted. And the team, the superintendent that's going to be over detention, Kip will be over all of them, but the guy who's going to be working over detention has got a detention background. The sheriff's office guy's got a sheriff's office background. So that's part of it. And then as far as the fee itself, we think that it's competitive. Certainly, we're willing to sit down and talk about that and how we came to that number. And if we feel that there's an adjustment that needs to be made, we can do that.
Thank you for being here today.
Yep.
I have nothing, Chairman. I think Mr. Chance has covered everything.
Great, thank you. Steve, you have any questions?
That's why we let Commissioner Chance go first.
Right.
Usually. Have you done any other projects in Carroll County?
We have both Barnsley and McCarthy. We've done some work at the college, and I don't know, Kyle, you.
Yes, sir. We built the new West Georgia Technical College.
Okay. Any problems?
No, sir.
Okay. How does this project, I've looked through, pretty impressive. But how does this project here compare to ones you've done at other places in difficulty or similarities?
Sure. I would start with the sheriff's office and say that this team, the folks in this room, just completed the sheriff's office at Walton County. And I think from a size standpoint, from a functionality standpoint, it's very similar. I've been involved in building the sheriff's office at Paulding, Douglas, and Walton, just to name a few, that are all about the same size, and they're all a little different. So we certainly have to sit down and understand the sheriff and the sheriff's staff's needs. But I think that we just finished Walton a couple of months ago, so that's fresh and ready to go. From the addition piece, we just did a project for Jasper County. It was smaller, but it was very similar, where we built a sheriff's office and an addition. We added a housing pod and renovated their medical all at the same time. And because it was a smaller jail itself, we were literally running around inside. We had to walk by their control room every time we went from one side of our project to the other. And so as you can imagine, that's very sensitive. You've got to be very careful with, you've got inmates, you've got trustees that are out around, you've got folks that are being booked in, booked out. So I think that really makes me, I draw a conclusion there that it's very similar. I think that is the most important part of the addition, is being so involved in what's going on. But as far as building a 200-bed housing pod, we've done that in a lot of places, so that part of it is kind of routine for us, but it's being close to that existing facility that makes it harder.
Okay, well, now, a mental health facility is going to be a little different from a jail. Have you had any
Sure.
experience with that?
Yeah, so at Walton County, there's a 65-bed medical mental health facility just like this one. Sorry, I didn't hit that before. Same thing in Douglas County, the one that Steve and I put together there. It's got about 80 beds on the 4th floor that are medical, mental health, and isolation. We're actually doing some consulting work now with the Department of Public Health for their new forensic hospital, which will be nothing but medical, mental health. So certainly have some experience with that.
Okay, you alluded to going back and forth. We've got an existing jail there.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably going to be some interaction. You going back and forth, people in and out of that jail while
Yeah.
you're... Or maybe I'm mistaken. I guess where I'm going with this is, I want to hear some steps that we don't
Sure.
wind up with some ball peen hammers and screwdrivers in the hands of inmates.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let me start with the answer to your question, the steps themselves. So we do daily tool checks, so we know what tools are coming into the job and make sure that they're coming out. Every person that works on the job will go through a background check, whether we initiate it or the Sheriff's Office does. We will have that. They'll have identification that says that they've been through that background check. We know who's on the job, what days they're on the job, when they come in and when they go. And to as much extent as we can, for as long as we can, we'll isolate that addition from the existing. Now, at some point, that place where we know tie-in right there, at some point we have to connect the existing facility to our work. And when that happens, our existing facility becomes the active jail. There's no getting around it. And when I first did this 25 years ago, I was sitting in my job trailer when the chief deputy of Douglas County came in and sat down across from me, and he handed me 2 little squares of metal that had come out of a door frame that had been sharpened on the concrete to like razor sharp. And he said, I just want you to know we found these in the cell that right across from where we tied in, and that could have really hurt somebody. That's stayed with me for 25 years. And when we go and we work in any facility, but certainly an active one, we talked about, you asked about culture earlier. This is part of our culture, is that we tell that story and we say we are not going to let that happen. We're going to know who's in the facility. We're going to know they're there. We're going to know who they were before they got there, and we're going to make sure that we know what they're bringing in and what they're bringing out. And so we do that every day, and we check all of that. And that's the way we do state prison work. That's the way we do county jail work all over Georgia.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
You said in 2016 Barnsley was formed, is that correct?
That's right.
Who's the Turner New South Construction? Is that old partners or?
So I was a partner at New South Construction for 20 years.
Okay.
And I left New South to start Barnsley with my wife.
Clears up some questions there. I think you covered everything like that. Other than that, Clint had a little bit on the fee structure. Just going through some of this stuff, to me, it stands out on the numbers. Let's see. Progress photos, pretty large number there. Didn't know if...
So when we do, just that as an example, progress photos, we actually aren't, it's not just pictures of the job. We actually enlist a service that comes and takes in-wall photos and ties them to the drawings so that 5 years down the road, the sheriff needs to do an addition in a space in the sheriff's office. They can pull up a drawing, see that wall before it was covered up, know what's in that wall. These are not things we have to do. These are things that we normally do, and we would certainly be willing to sit down and take those things out if it's something that the county doesn't want.
Another question, just this jumped out to me, was the furniture for trailers, $22,000. That was kind of an oddball number compared to some of the other numbers we've seen.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. And again, I mean, we can look at that.
Okay.
We just look at what we've done over a period of time on average.
It's kind of an average.
Pick that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so appreciate y'all being here. Earlier we talked about, and I don't know which one of you want to answer the question or whatever, it doesn't matter to me, but you talking about on timeline, give me a little bit of where you at in the process of the pre-construction, and I heard you mention that you need to be, if you was to win this, you need to be working on Monday with the architect. Give me the background, how much you work with the architect, tell me where you at in the process as far as pre-construction, and are you set to go to work on Monday if you was to win this bid? And
So I'm gonna let Tyler come up and answer that, because he's gonna be the guy doing the work, so.
That's kind of who made the comment a
Yeah,
while ago,
right.
so, but it doesn't matter to me who.
Yeah. Yeah, so where we are currently in the process is I've already developed a budget that has 2,500 line items in it, that is detailed, quantified, based on what I can see these buildings are being represented in the RFP. It may just be a square and a program that says square footages, but I know how tall that building's gonna be. I know that 2 modular cells stacked on top of each other are 17 foot 6 inches. I know you gotta have 4 foot for a plenum. I know that medical, we just built one. I went to Walton, I looked at the drawings for that medical and looked at the structure and how much stuff has to be above, because there's a lot of ventilation that's happening in that medical. You gotta isolate people that are, you know, from a medical standpoint, right? So I know how tall the building's gotta be. I know that I looked at precast, or is it conventionally built? Precast is better, it's faster. I've already got 2 precasters looking at it. They've already develop plans that we can show columns. So I know what that building looks like. I also know the same for the admin building. I know this product that is this monumental look that we're trying to achieve. I've got samples on my desk right now of cast-on products in different colors, so immediately, and I know what it costs per square foot. It's $52 a square foot. And we can go pick out, do we like this? Or throw it all away and go get some new ones. Like, I've done the work already, right? So, I've worked with Nelson. I've done 8 GMP, CM at risk, not regular hard bid jobs. I've done this hand-in-hand design with Nelson 8 times, and specifically with Karen, delivering this. And I've done with CPS as well, probably 15.
So basically, it sounds like if you feel like if you're in a spot right now that you're comfortable, you can go to work, hit the ground running,
Absolutely.
and you'd be way ahead of the game.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well,
Tell me a little bit
Monday's my birthday, but, you know, I was going to take a little bit of time.
Well, we don't vote till Tuesday, so you probably
All right.
take you a day.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all.
Yeah. So, if you had to pick out one part of this project that was the most important, that is, and I know the answer to this, but I want you to explain for anybody that might be listening. The most important part of this, or the most complicated part of this project, is what part of it? As far as the structures, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to.
You want me to answer that? Sure. Okay. I'd say the most complicated part of this is the amount of cabling and wire and connections that are on this particular project. I think there's a slide in here that talks about each one of these doors could have as many as 45 connections, and those are run into 3 different monitors. You do the math, and you do that times 100, 44 beds. I mean, there is lots of cabling systems that have to be in, and they have to be put in right, and then they have to be commissioned, so.
And I would add to that to say, I think it's the jail.
Okay, that's kind of what I was.
Is the answer.
The jail area to me is the most.
But this is a really good example, because we talk about connections to the door, that's 5 subcontractors.
Okay.
There's a door subcontractor, there's a wall subcontractor, there's an electrician, there's a, whoever, if it's a modular cell, there's a modular cell guy. If it's a CMU, it's a CMU. The door has to be plumb and square, or a year and a half from now, that door is not going to open anymore. They're heavy, really specifically tolerant doors. They don't have a lot of tolerance on the sides, and that's just an example of why the jail can be so complicated. But the jail is absolutely the most important part of this.
Okay. With that, talking about the jail being the most complicated, and I felt like from what little I know about construction, that would be it. So tell me a little bit how these cells, precast cells, which you describe the building, the process of that, and what kind of.
So I think what Tyler was alluding to, and this is just a way to build it, but we think it's probably the right way, is the structure would be precast and the cells would be prefabricated metal. Those prefabricated metal cells would be made in a factory. Mm-hmm. So they're all exactly the same, which is good, because they're all high quality. But in order to do that, we have to spend weeks with the sheriff's office and the architect in conference rooms going, okay, what what's that door got on it? Which of these things does it have on it? Does it have a food pass in the door? Does it have a solenoid lock or a motorized lock? Does it have an intercom? Does it have a watch tour? So all these things, we've got to have all that figured out because they're going to make it and they're going to ship it to the job, and if it isn't right, then we're in trouble. So a lot of that coordination has to happen, but to answer your question, so that while we're building the structure, they're building the cells in a factory. And then we leave a place out where they can bring those cells in and slide them in. So in this case, we've got medical on the first floor, we're going to have housing on the second floor. In both areas, you'll have cells. And one might be a one-person medical cell with more glass in the door, and one might be a two-person women's cell on the second floor. We got to leave a space for those to come in. They got to come in, get welded together. That creates our security wall, and then all of our utilities get connected to the back of that.
Okay. All right. Hypothetically, if y'all was to win the bid and you started, let's just say that we tell you that you got the contract next Monday. What is your process after that? What steps do you take, and where do you just lay out the process to me from that point on? What do you do and where do you start at?
So we immediately are going to want to sit down and see what's changed in the program since the RFP went out. We assume that progress is happening and we want to catch up. So we want to be in the meetings, in the room with Nelson and the Sheriff's Office and CPS immediately. And if you guys are if they're having a meeting about this job, we want to be there immediately. So from now until the time the job is over. And so a lot of construction managers might think, well, when you've got a set of drawings, you send them to me, or when we need to have that review meeting, we'll have that review meeting. We want to sit in the meeting when they're talking about furniture because there's something about that we need to know. But yeah, so we start immediately. We will share our budget and our schedule with the team, schedule time to go through that and what our assumptions were. Tyler talked about the fact that he's got a budget built. Well, we built that in somewhat of a vacuum, and we've got a lot of history from which to draw that. But now we need to sit down with Nelson and the Sheriff's Office and say, here's how we interpreted the program and what we did, and we need to reconcile that a little bit so that we have an even starting place. And then as Nelson begins to put this stuff on paper, our job is to constantly tell them what it costs and if there's any constructability problems and if there's any impact to the schedule, so that as they're drawing, they're not going down a path that we have to pull them back.
Okay. And you mentioned that you have worked with an architect before. Have you, the architect, and Mr. Eric Nim, their company, have all three of y'all been on the same job sites and worked?
We have. In fact, the first jail I ever built, I built with Karen Sickner and Eric Johnson, so 25 years ago. I've been working with those folks for a long time.
Okay. All right. And then I think that's all I got at the moment.
I would say, Ben, you were talking about New South. If he worked with New South, he knows what he's doing. Because I worked with him at the airport. That's hard. It's just like a jail. You got to take it in and take it out.
That's right. There's a big correlation there, and I'll tell you just real quickly. We just finished doing 2 animal habitats at the zoo, and the reason we got those projects is because it's very, very similar to working in a jail. I mean, we're taking care of the people inside and keeping a barrier up. So
I did the Customs Border Patrol down there, renovation.
Okay. We probably met once before then.
Yeah.
I do have one more question for Mr. Wooten back there. As far as your construction part of it, kind of walk me through if you took over this project. Tell me kind of what your role would be, and kind of just lay it out in steps for us to how you would start and what your go through.
Getting started with the design, I would be a part of some of that, not in every meeting, but looking at what's coming out. If I can find anything, I see that, hey, this doesn't work. Remember we had to change something. Try to have some input like that and as just a follow-up. But once the project gets started, I will be on site. I will have superintendents under me. Like I was telling you about that picture with all the conduit in it, making sure the contractors have the right material and equipment, and it is what was specified. It matches everything that was in the submittals, and it's on site, and making sure it's installed correctly. If we have, like I said, an electrician that's not used to doing these or has not had this experience, he's one I'd have right under my thumb, because they don't go looking for things that could possibly come back. Walton County right now, an example, they changed their minds. Next week, We're going out to install some door stops. They didn't want door stops in the rec yards. They said it was a security issue. Well, now we're going back to put door stops in, and you got to drill a 9-inch hole in the floor and epoxy this steel rod in with a big rubber grommet on it for the door to hit. That's what we got to go look for before we can put it in, because we may hit a line that goes to the air conditioner. Now, those photos he was mentioning,
That's what I was going to ask.
you can go back and look at those, and a lot of times you can find something and find that it is, it looks like it's 8 inches to the right of that first TV, or, you can locate it sometimes. It's not 100% of the time when you go to drilling a hole. So if we did look at it and there was absolutely, there's nothing there on that wall, period, wherever we want to put it, then you could go ahead. Where that picture helps you at, though, or those photos, if you do look and you see there's 5 things there, then you say, okay, call GPR. Let's get out here and do the radar on it, find out exactly where it is, mark everything out, got a depth, a size, and whatever you're going to put in that ground or floor has to miss that.
So just a question about the photos. Is that something, and this is an objective question,
Okay.
is that something that you feel like other companies do? Because I personally like the idea of it, having that reference on there. Or is this something that y'all just add? I understand it adds money to it, but when you're building a project for me, and we're talking about the money I don't want to just I'm not looking for the lowest bid. I'm looking for the best jobs, what I'm looking for.
And it is worth its weight in gold 6 years from now.
I can see where
When the sheriff says, we got to change something, I got to change my flow. I've got to swap. We've had an influx of something, and now my operations are going to change. I need to swap these cells over. I need to change this door. It can be done. But if you don't have those photos, you may do it, and it may triple the cost of what you were doing because you cut through that stuff, and now you don't even know where they go, but you know what you killed.
Yeah, okay. I appreciate the questions.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
y'all for being here.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I have time for one follow-up.
Sure, you most certainly do.
This is for Tyler. This is specific. The questions I had were pre-written prior to the presentation, but you said something in your presentation about that you were not going to be doing value engineering, and I think what you were homing in on is that you were going to try to get it right on the front end, but I do want you to elaborate a little bit more on that, because value engineering can be a lot of different things. It can be coming in and looking at a design that an architect has done, not necessarily anything's wrong, but you say, hey, we could structure this different, it's going to be less steel, it's going to be whatever, and we can redesign and save money. It also can be taking the Dillard's quality doorknobs and going down to the Macy's quality doorknobs.
Right.
And then in some instances, you can have a great value brand, so to speak, that tastes better than the name brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear value engineering, there's a lot of different things in my mind that I equate with what value engineering is. It doesn't necessarily mean we're over budget or I got to find ways to cut. Things may really make sense to value engineer. So when you made that statement, I'm not saying it was wrong. I'm just saying, could you elaborate on exactly what you meant when you said that we wouldn't be doing value engineering?
Yeah, I think there's lots of terminology that's used out there in the industry, and value engineering is one of those that has gotten a negative connotation to it. So we've started to use things like value benefit, and that's what we're doing during the design process, to add value to things and choose the right products during the job. What I would say value engineering is more a reaction to, oh no, we're over budget, and now I've got to take something away from you that you really wanted. And I've got to give you those Dillard hardware locks or whatever that you don't want, right? And so the key is, like he said, if we're staying shoulder to shoulder with the design team and we're in lockstep, there shouldn't be any surprises, and we are flat on the budget. If we go away, and this is what other CMs will do, they'll go away their corner for a month or two, don't look at the design. Designer say, here's some drawings, and the number goes like this. And then a V to there, and then this, and it's painful, it's not good. So yeah, we do value engineering. I would call it value benefit during the pre-construction process, because we're adding value. I'm always looking to get the best product and the job for the best price.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yep.
Any more questions?
Since Tyler's ready to work next Wednesday now, we've established, correct?
That's correct.
I just want to be sure, we have an attorney in the back here. She has a contract. We don't change our contract.
Sure.
So how long is it going to take for y'all to sign the paperwork?
So I will tell you, and I'm going to speak for both McCarthy and Barnsley. We have been working together now for 6 years. We've done $500 million worth of work together with cities and counties throughout Atlanta and Georgia area. We're not going to have any problem. I think we responded to the RFP and specifically said, hey, here are the things we'd like to talk about because we were asked, but there's no deal killers in that contract.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners?
No, not at this time.
Okay, great. All right, so Joel, we'll stop the recording at this time so we can transition to the next group and stand up and take a break and, got it? All right, Jalen, I'll turn it over to you at this
Perfect.
point.
So again, we're here for the finalist interviews for the CM at Risk project. We have the firm here, Raylan and SG Contracting. We're excited to have them present today. Again, just a reminder, you have 20 minutes to present, 30 minutes for Q&A. And with that, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Or you gonna come run the? Oh, okay. Yeah, there. All right, thank you. Hello to all you guys. I know all you guys. We're grateful to be here. We're grateful for the opportunity. I know this project it's a need in our county. I know it's not the kind of thing that you run elections on. Those are for new parks and new swimming pools and things like this. But I commend you guys for looking for the future and us having to do what we need to do. So on our screen up there, I know it's behind you. We're going to talk about our ability of being local. You guys know that, obviously, so we'll touch on some of that a little bit. Our local trade knowledge of all the subcontractors and suppliers in our county, our accountability to you now, today, and in the future, and also our experience in this field. So I've personally worked on, in my 40-year career at Raylan, 8 different judicial, jail, prisons, youth detention center projects. In addition to that, we've done the only 2 behavioral health facilities in Carroll County, as well as an addition at one of those. We've also done dozens of administrative office buildings. So, this is a combination of all those things. As we go through the project, let's talk about our presence here in the county. We have 130 employees in Carroll County. We went back and did some research. We've paid in the last 3 years in property tax and sales tax on our projects over $8 million of just county, not the state tax. We pay $500,000 a year in property taxes to the county from our various entities that we have interest in. So we understand where the tax dollars are going, and it matters to us. We also have over 100 trade partners that we've identified that are registered in our county, in the county with us, that we've already pre-qualified, and we've got a 90% repeat business, so people come back to do business with us again. So with us, our team, I'll introduce our team. So Sachin Salindra is with SG Contracting. I went out and sought Sachin because I wanted to shore up and really show you guys that we had detention experience. He's working on the largest prison in the state of Georgia right now. He'll talk about that in a minute. Curry Glanton's a local Carrollton resident. She's going to be the project executive. Curry's done a lot of the noteworthy projects that you'll know in the town in the last few years. See behind me, Ryan Campbell is going to be the senior project manager on it. Rebecca Fools with us doing estimating. And then Jim Anderson and Vernon Buchanan will be the site team. Vernon's from Bowden, has worked for Raylan for 20 plus years. He'll be the go-to guy out there, as well as Jim.
And I worked in their building.
Oh, and Jim and I both worked on the existing jail when it was built. All right, Sachin.
Thanks, Ben, and thanks for your time today. Ben and I actually started working together in 2001 on the regional youth detention centers. We were both younger. I didn't have gray hair and wasn't as fat as I am now, but so we've been doing it a while. That gives you any kind of idea of how long we've known each other. I was going to talk about one of our prison experiences that we're doing for the state of Georgia down in Davisboro. This is one of many projects that we're working on currently. It's about a 16-building campus in Washington County. It's next to an existing prison. So we've got to be very cognizant of what we do there, making sure that we bring people in and out correctly. Also making sure that no contraband can get close to the prisoners. This is a BIM model that's behind you guys that you can see kind of the site. And it's a large $800 million project. It's the largest prison in the state's history. It's going to be about 2,200 beds to start with, and then it could go up to 3,000. So we have facilities like the housing facilities for the inmates. Then we also have healthcare facilities there, including behavioral health components to this project. We also have ancillary buildings for support staff and different things there. This is a 33-month project, so it's a pretty big, fairly complex project for the state, an important client. A couple of things that we did to mitigate some of the challenges on this is we brought on some early partners on this. When we bring on early partners, it's not saying that we don't bid the project. We bid the project, but we vet all the subcontractors and try to bring in the best value people that can help us. So we brought in a company called West Georgia Electric. I'm sure you guys are familiar with them. And they helped us coordinate with all the electrical systems that go into this so that we don't have to do this twice. We do this once and we do it right the first time. We also brought in Nash Plumbing and HVAC. They're helping us with the plumbing and HVAC on the project. Again, bringing them in early so they could help us with shop drawings, help us with coordination with the architect, have us sitting down at the team. And we're still making them compete and we're still holding their feet to the fire. Everything that we will do throughout this process will be transparent. So anything we do, you'll see. So there's nothing that we've got to hide or sleight of hand. We're doing that up front. And then the third person we brought in was Active Controls from Wisconsin, and they brought in a great possibility for us to be able to make sure that all of our locking systems and of all of our detention equipment is done correctly, and all our CCTV, so that we're making sure that when we have the finished product, we're coordinating from the beginning. The last thing we did to help mitigate some of the challenges of a tight schedule is we prefabbed a lot of the cells, modular cells that were done early by our precast fabricator. And then we also have our MEP being built off site so that we can just bring it in. So there's no chance to leave anything behind, any chance for error. Again, what I'll tell you is that we will do it right the first time. I'm going to turn it over to Curry. He's going to talk a little bit about some of your project specifically.
Yes, thanks, Sachin. So as been mentioned, my name's Curry Glanton. I'm going to be the project executive, so I'll work alongside Ryan. He's a senior project manager, and other teams if we're selected for this project. Some things that we want to talk about with y'all, because I know we can talk about all of our experience that we have on past projects for a while, but what's important is your job. And for us, from a project management side, we come out the gate with all of the early planning that Sachin was mentioning, and then Ben mentioning, of course, the fact about how much we're invested in the community and care about this getting off to the right start. So it's important for us to go ahead and start with a seamless transition. You'll hear Rebecca in just a minute talk about pre-construction and what that means, but what it boils down to is that we're going to be invested from a project management and superintendent side, those are the guys out there running the work daily, just from the start. So we'll be coordinating and planning with you, and I know Ryan probably will touch a little bit on the tight coordination that we do up front.
Yeah, so one of the things that our goal is for the end user of the building to love the building that they're in and when they're going to work every day. So we make it a priority through the design process and through working through construction, to do end user coordination so that we can work through door hardware, do room mock-ups, and have the people that are going to be in there take a look at it, make sure it's good, and that there's a seamless transition for the day that we turn the building over to you.
And that goes hand in hand as well with the real-time control. That for us is a cost aspect. It's important up front for the taxpayers, for the commissioner, the commissioners, everyone, the architect to be aware, the program manager of the different costs of the project. So transparency is one of our core values at Ray Lynn. We're an open book contractor, so you will see everything that you want to see down to the penny of where your money's going and how we're going to plan for that up front. So that's something that's really important to us throughout the entire process, to have that real-time transparency and control. I know y'all can't really see the pictures, but just to talk about sorry.
We have it right here, Curry. They're right.
Okay. I was like, keep referencing that.
Hey, we're high tech here.
Yeah, this is fancy. But operations within a critical secure facility, there's having the existing jail there. We understand how important that is from the Sheriff's Office department and everyone who's who's using that facility on a daily basis. And Ray Lynn has right now, these are 3 pictures from projects that are within 30 miles of this building. 2 of those are in Carroll County. They're $60 million plus projects. We have a third $60 million project going on right now, all with components that are very similar to the jail we're building, one of those is the patient tower expansion above the ED at Tanner, where they saw, 103,000 visits over our construction period. And we were able to do that whole construction without at all having any impact on their patient care. So the jail isn't a hospital, but there's a lot of stuff that translates from that experience. I don't know if you want to touch on the
Yeah, so just
other 2.
Another couple of projects right there that touch on working in occupied facilities. The second picture is in Villa Rica, next to a active hospital, where we just finished a phase of underground utilities that required a ton of coordination with the active facility and tying in and making sure that everything went off without a hitch. And then the third picture is project we did for Southwire that required they had a piece of equipment that had to remain active. It was actually in the way of where we were trying to build. So rather than delay the schedule, we came up with some alternative solutions, and we actually built the building around that piece of machinery and then demoed it from the inside and kept everything active through that with zero lost time and zero incidents.
But I know we want to spend a little more time talking about your project. So overall, this is a very large project for the county, and right off the cuff, we want to just point out the three distinct kind of areas and phasing as we see it. You have the Sheriff's Administration and Support Building. You also have the jail component for female housing. And then the third component would be the, demoing out the old jail portions where the new parking lot goes. So just to kind of dive into that a little bit and talk about Ray Lynn's specific experience. The Sheriff's Office, this is approximately 70,000 square foot, two-story masonry building. I don't know that there's another contractor in the state who could say they have built as many two-story masonry buildings over the last 50 years as Ray Lynn has. This has components that we're accustomed to doing. We know how to manage mental health facilities. We know how to manage administration and staff support, offices. This is a project that we can really wrap our hands around and take off. A lot of the facilities, obviously there'll be a lot of integration with our local subcontractor base. We're going to partner that with our national experience and with SG Contracting and their experience in the jail vendors. But it's really important for us that we're getting subcontractors out there who also care about the county and ones who can really bring the project home from a couple of different perspectives. I'm going to switch a little bit to the detention expansion, and this portion is, square footage wise, it's about 30% of the project. So this is a project that we also, you heard Ben say, Ray Lynn's done 8 different jails. We built the original Carroll County Jail as well. So this is not a thing that's foreign to us. There'll be a lot more coordination with the Sheriff's Department in this group, but that's something that we have a lot of experience in, and we're ready to tackle, working with them to make sure people are passing background checks. Anytime we go into the secure facility, we have a process and a program, and we're accountable to everyone who is inside and outside of that jail.
We're down to 3 minutes now?
You got 4.
Okay, 4 minutes. So I'll be super quick. Site work, this is going to be just the transfer of, demolishing your existing facility and working with y'all to transfer the inmates into the new building, and then working, of course, very closely on any of the existing jail components. So sorry if I've been talking too much, but I'm going to let Vernon and Jim, who really handle the day-to-day execution from the field side, talk a little bit.
Sandy, what?
You got 8 minutes.
Okay.
So sorry.
We can speed up. Good, good. We
You're
got
like,
a lot more to talk about. All right.
I was like,
Thank you.
That's good to know.
deep breath, deep breath.
As Ben said, being a lifetime resident of the county, especially from Bowden, a place that I call God country, blackjack down there and stuff. It's just amazing when I got out of the military for a short stint, and the first 25 years of my construction career, I was getting up at 4 and 4:30 in the morning, driving back and forth to Atlanta. I just could not understand why having to drive that far just to make a living in construction. Then within the last 20 years, it's been a big change in Carroll County. Carroll County is growing, and that's one of the main reasons I decided to come home. Stop missing out on all the family time, missing the graduation, missing going to the kids, and now I'm a pawpaw, I get to go to see them do things they do at school here in the county, and bringing all this knowledge back to Carroll County, where we live. And it's just great to know that there's nothing that's not being built in Carrollton and the surrounding areas that Ray Lynn can't build. We've got the people, we got the knowledge, and we stayed home, and that's what we do. And let's talk a little bit about the daily operations. The biggest thing is communication. Got to have an open door policy on this communication. The owner, the architect, the builders, got to be open door communication. Logistics, the same thing. It's got to be open door because stuff changes as you go. There's not a perfect plan. There's always going to be something that you always shift and you move, and communication allows you to do that in a correct way and in a proper way. Scheduling, that's the big thing. The end date don't move. It's just like when I was in the military. It never rained in the Army, it rained on the Army. Same way here at Ray Lynn. It don't rain in Ray Lynn, it rains on Ray Lynn. So the schedule don't move. So whatever's got to happen, that's what's going to happen. And we do a weekly subcontractors meeting, which is basically all the subcontractors come in, we'll do a 4-week look at the schedule. We sit there and we talk about what the upcoming events and stuff. and any issues we got. So you know where you're standing schedule-wise. Do X have enough manpower, or do we have enough guys over here, or should we be doing this item instead of that item? So that's another part of communication. Another thing is at the end of a project, that word punch list. If y'all don't know what that means, when you get to walk and you see any deficiencies, you get to make your little notes and stuff. But we take a different approach on that. We got a system we use called Procore, and we love observation. And that's when you just walk through, looking. If you see something don't look correct, you got a question, just take a picture of it. Take a picture of it, put it in the system, send it out to whoever is required to repair that work. And it never gets lost because every day till that item's been corrected, you're going to get a little beep beep in your email system letting you know that it's still there. And that's a good way, so when we get to the end of the project, a lot of foreseeing stuff, same thing as you're the owner. If you walk out there and you see something, you bring, hey, Vernon, Jim, this don't look quite right. Go take a picture of it. We're going to get it resolved. We'll get it going on. And accountability. Whatever else can you ask for? We're right here, 15 minutes away. Fire alarm system going off. We got issues with anything. We're here. We're not going nowhere. This is home. So we're here right now. And I'll let Jim talk a little bit more about this phase.
You made that pretty easy for me. I'm proud to be back here again. I lived in Carroll County for 20 years. Worked on your original 7-story tower, I guess it's called, when we were back in 2000. Very happy to be back in front of you guys. You made my job pretty easy. He covered just about everything. The number one that we need to hit on is the constant communication and coordination with the team, the jailers, all the facilities, their maintenance facilities and all that. We understand how all this works, how to get tools in, how to make sure tools come out. How do we access? We're used to going through Sally ports. I don't know how much of that work we'll be doing here, but we understand it. Anything else?
Yeah, and we understand that security is the biggest reason. It's a big issue, and we take that very seriously. And we've also looked at the site. We ride by there all the time. We live here, knowing the old Newnham Road with the traffic, the work hours of people getting off, and the time of getting concrete trucks. And so it's a lot of coordination, communication that be done outside the project with the rest of the city officials and stuff, making sure that everything flows in a timely manner. Ben?
All right, Rebecca.
All right, so everyone's told you how we're going to build this. Now I'm going to tell you how we're going to set it up. So from the very beginning, after contract award, we're going to work hand in hand with you all, with the county, with Nelson and CPS, get an initial meeting together, figure out what this project is really going to look like. We all want to start on the same page. So we're going to bring in everyone on our team. We do everyone from our estimating teams, project management, field. We make sure that we're all on the same page from day one, along with SG Contracting. They're going to be a big help throughout this estimating pre-construction process, bringing in their insights on what we need for early release packages, what we need for subcontractors, and we're going to work hand in hand throughout that entire process. We're going to go through, we're going to do our schematic designs, work with Nelson on developing those, go through to our first schematic budget, and then through that entire process as we're developing these design development drawings in hand with Nelson, we're going to be giving you budget feedback the entire time. You're always going to know where your money's being spent, because the biggest thing about us is that we are 100% transparent. So you will know everywhere that every dollar is being spent from the beginning. And that being said, from the very beginning, schematic drawings, we're going to establish those early release packages, bring in our local subcontractors, as Sachin mentioned, and really try to keep as much of the money local. We have a very good sub base, as you can see from the graphic here, that we've developed relationships with from 50 years ago when we started. So we've got a really good sub base here. We want to keep the money local. We want to keep this work local. It's very important to us and to all of our trades. So I'll hand it over to Ben.
I think our time's running short. So wrapping this up, a few years ago, my wife and I went to a marriage retreat, and the leader made us go off and decide what our core values were. We'd been married 25 years then and had 4 kids. We're like, wow, that's a good question. And I won't tell you all of them because some of them might have been more personal, but one of them was we wanted to commit to our community. That's just something we felt passionate about. We'd both been born and raised here. So we came back and we rebranded Ray Lynn for our 50th anniversary, and we developed the Build Up Our Clients, Colleagues, and Community theme. And since that time, that's how we measure ourselves at our annual meeting. We don't focus on
how many millions we did in billings or how many millions we made in profit. We focus on what did we do for our clients, our colleagues, and our communities. And that's our commitment to you guys. I said to the team earlier, if you pick somebody else for another reason, we got to live with that. I don't want it to be because we're not capable of building this project, because we're highly capable. And I hope we've shown y'all we're doing same size projects in very intense atmospheres right now in this county. We can do this project and we'd like to do it for you. Thank you. Come in on the time?
Yes, you did, under time. Good job.
Hey, with that said, I want to come in on the budget.
Yeah.
I don't have any other comments. Go ahead,
Commissioner Clay.
Thank you all for being here today. I've got several questions, but just as quickly as you can answer them. I'm not looking for long-winded answers. So looking at the time schedule, do you feel that what you have reviewed so far, that that's something you're capable of completing and that it's realistic?
We do, and Curry and Sachin both had studied that pretty intensely and felt good about it.
Okay.
And we have a preliminary schedule built out to support that as well that was in probably our original submission packet.
Okay. Explain to me what construction manager at risk means to you versus another process that you may bid on.
Well, that's a great question. What it means to us is we have accountability for the number that the GMP, as it's called, the guaranteed maximum price. And in doing so, that means we've got to vet everyone and we've got to guarantee that number. Now, just so you know, that doesn't mean that you never have a change order. The only change orders in a CM at risk GMP would be owner-driven things, like we want to change that. But it's our job to vet our subs, to scope them out, and to make sure that the entire scope of the project's covered, and then we provide 100% payment and performance bond, which that's a little bit different than like a straight CM method when you're just passing cost along. That'd be how I'd answer that.
Okay. And that's a good answer. And just to summarize, you and the architect working together, there's an error, there's a problem. You're pointing the finger at each other to work that out. You're not pointing it back to the owner to write the check.
That's right. And look, architects and contractors are like cats and dogs. I don't know if there's one here or not, but I don't know why it is. It's just a natural phenomenon in life. And I think our customers would tell you we try to get in the boat together and solve problems. They're going to make some mistakes. They are, and we are too. And so we got to sit down and say, all right, here's what we did. What's the solution? And it's not to come back and say we need another $100,000 from the owner. That's not the solution.
Sure. What type of internal processes do you have for reviewing plans or reviewing things to try to get ahead of something before maybe there's a problem? That could be anything. You could let another firm look over what you've got and say, hey, are you seeing something we're not seeing? Do you have more than one set of eyes internally? There's no right or wrong answer, but what process do you have to try to get ahead of problems?
I'll answer that if anybody wants to jump in too. I think one of the things unique that we've done recently is, yes, we have a bunch of eyes. Curry will be involved from day one. Rebecca's going to have a partner in pre-con from Sachin's group that's going to do the same thing. We also took a former superintendent of ours who'd spent 30 years in the field. He works in our pre-con department now, and his job is to flip plans and do a constructability review, is what we call them, to say, wait a minute, you can't put a crane there. That's not going to work. Y'all hadn't been out in the field and done this. So we have multiple eyes looking at it. I don't know, Curry, if you want to add anything.
Yeah, and yes, but I would say that the constructability review that we do internally is, sorry.
They're reporting it.
The constructability review that we do through the pre-con process is the best way to do that. We take scope gaps is what he is looking for. So he's taking a civil drawing, which has all tie-in points of where you connect your utilities and where you connect the actual MEP systems that get there, and he's comparing that to each individual sheet of those different. You have a lot of different people who are designing the systems, and we are that second thorough check to make sure that all of the different, really it's consultants who often work for the architecture firm or even employees in the same firm, engineering and architect, that their drawings line up and there's not a problem out of the gate from that. And then the second layer of that is the constructability aspect of just, we can't put a wall here when you're building, 2 feet from an existing facility. I can't fit a scaffold in there to erect the brick. So, it's constructability and it's drawing coordination up front.
And let me just add one thing to that. So back to Montreal's comment, Curry just completed the Big Tanner expansion downtown. You probably saw the tower crane up. That was a $65 million project, and we returned multiple $1 million in savings to the owner when that job was done. We didn't keep it all. I won't say how many because they might not want me to say, but it was sizable.
One of my questions, and your team has heavily touched on the idea of communication, which we know is paramount in anything. Give me an idea of the culture of what communication looks like in the company. One example might be how you deal with RFIs. So that's one example. You're having to deal with the county, you're dealing with the sheriff's department, you're dealing with an owner's rep that's a professional firm, Eric Johnson. You're dealing with an architect, you've got your own communications internally. Very briefly, as quick as you can, do you have a culture? Do you have a plan? It's not just we get back to people quickly, but is there some type of culture inside of Ray Lynn of how you deal with communication?
Curry, and then I'll
take this one too.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing for us, like you're saying, like we've kind of touched on also, is the teamwork aspect. It's important for us to understand all the different stakeholders. So to properly answer your question, specifically in RFI, the sheriff's department may have a big input on the answer and the response. And so the Procore, the actual tool that we use for that instance, you can copy as many people as you want on them. And for an RFI, we would talk about it at all the owner, architect, contractor meetings and discuss any open ones so that everyone knows, what the question is that's out there. There might be some questions that are just, what's the dimension on this? And everyone would still be copied on that correspondence, but, we know when to raise a red flag and say, hey, are you sure this is what they want? But communication, we really do that top to bottom within our company and externally. There's some clients that we have that want a single point of contact, and we can follow those marching orders, or we can keep everybody in the room and we can be the ones facilitating between the different stakeholders, because there are a lot on this project. A lot of people with a lot of different interests.
Right. Well, the last example I used with the prior group when I asked the question was Chick-fil-A. No matter where you go, you say thank you, they're going to say my pleasure, and it's a culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same thing with an RFI. If you've got a culture to say, hey, when you get an email within 8 hours, you're expected to respond. Within that time frame, you've got 24 hours to answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
If in 24 hours you can't answer it, then maybe you move to 48 hours. But that's a culture.
Right.
It's not just, it's systematically that internally you know what to do if something has not hit a particular time frame. So I was just curious of how you deal with that.
Let me add to that, Clint. If you asked me the word, I wasn't going to use that word. The culture that I try to instill, particularly in all our young people, is trust. And you have to trust the people you're interacting with. And if you don't trust them, then you don't give them all the information. You hold back because you don't trust that person to take what you told them and make a reasonable answer. And so I think construction projects start to fail when the contractor doesn't trust the architect, and then the program manager doesn't trust either one of them, and everybody's just garnering and keeping the information close to themselves. That's not the culture we want. We make a mistake, we're going to tell you. If we need some help, we're going to tell you. It's just put it out there and believe everybody's reasonable and wants to solve a problem.
Sure. Can you tell me what is one attribute that you either exclusively bring to the plate or that you believe you can do better than any other contractor that would be bidding on this project? What is the one attribute if you had to single it out?
I believe we can bring this project in at the lowest price for the county and involve more county residents in the process. Hands down.
Okay. Can you tell me, when I'm looking at your fee structure, I'm not looking so much at just what the number is that you submitted, but can you give me a little ideology behind what that total number tallied up to? So is it competitive? Is it extremely competitive? Is it negotiable? Is it, hey, we made this number so that we know that we can get this job? Is it we put everything in there that we could possibly think that they could use and it's a solid number? Tell me the ideology, not what the number is, but the ideology when you looked at that total tally number. How did you feel about it, and how did you basically arrive to it?
That's another great question. Who gave me these questions? So it's very competitive, I believe. We have a heated debate in the office, so we have a bunch of people at the table that have input into that. Now, ultimately,
I make the decision that we're going to go with that. So, you know, the way we attacked it is we wanted to provide enough staff to do the project properly, but not overburden the project with general conditions. You know, that's a lot of the number that you're seeing. And then from a fee standpoint, we felt like we had to be in the competitive range. We also do a lot of work around the state. We took different anecdotal evidence and said, seems like the right number. So I would think we're pretty competitive on our fee. The thing we don't do, and I'm not going to accuse anybody on this project, but what we see in other locales is you might see a number that's half of the number you got there. That's not even possible. When you put bond and insurance and all that in there, and I could show you if I had the time, Clint, that they go through and they put in the sub-packages a bunch of costs that should be in our number. And they just pass it through and you don't ever see it. And we've wrestled with those competitors around in our industries in the state for years. And I've just always said, I don't want to do that. It's just too hard and it isn't worth it. So we just put it out there like we thought it ought to be.
Thank you for being here.
I just got a few things to say. Number one is, back years ago, I worked beside Mr. Fulford out in the field, and you were in college in Auburn at that time. But I saw projects that you've built throughout the community, and if you don't want it up and built, don't call y'all. That's the way I feel about it, because I watched Carrollton High School, how you come up with that. That was amazing.
Thank you.
In the project you've done. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Steve?
Yes. I saw them painting those bricks down at Carrollton High School.
One by one.
Yeah, one by one, yeah. I asked the last group about Carroll County projects. I'm not going to ask you guys about Carroll County projects, I already know. Okay, in your book here, I see you're working on Hayes State Prison and you did Willowbrook, and I know several admin buildings you've done around here, but have you done them all together? I mean, this is what we're looking at. Something like Willowbrook and a jail and an admin building on the same site.
Well,
With an
we
existing
did the
jail.
original jail out here 25
Yeah.
years ago that had
Right.
a lot of those components. And then Willowbrook had all those same components in it too. So, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's any unique quality in this one that wouldn't be the same, but no, I think so, yes.
Okay, but I mean, I guess what I'm asking is, have you built anything like that? Where you're putting a hospital, a jail, and an admin building next to an existing jail?
Not exactly like that, no.
Okay. You mentioned chain of custody and this, and I know you sort of answered it, but I just want to make sure we're not going to wind up with screwdrivers and hammers in the hands of inmates. So,
Gentlemen?
how do you go about preventing that?
We follow the jail, we follow the jail protocol to the T.
Okay.
When we go in, we work with the jailers, we work with the staff. We know that you guys at that jail already has a process. We all will adapt to that process. We will educate everybody that works in there. We call it a site-specific safety plan. Every worker that has to go inside the sterile area or the secure area have to go through that. It's mandatory. They know. That's how we keep things in and things come out with us. And I'm sure you have the checklist that everything has to come back out that we took in.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Ben, have y'all ever worked with Nelson or Eric Johnson on any projects?
Yeah, well, yes and no. So Nelson's predecessor, I believe Wakefield Beasley, or Lamar Wakefield and Associates, was purchased by Nelson. So yes, we worked with them in Atlanta. And then we've done several projects with CPS. Most recently, Ryan worked on one in Douglas County, the Town Green project, their new amp, we did with CPS a year or two ago. And a few others in Douglasville recently.
Okay. And just in some of y'all's fee structure, and the last company, we kind of got into it pretty deep. What about project pictures? There's just a small figure on y'all's list, and it's been different in every packet I've looked at. So I'm just curious, like company cam, like what do y'all use, for uh-ohs and hiccups down the road.
Yeah, we have an on-site, part of our Procore system will be a camera on site all the time, and then as well as all the photos. The superintendent's probably going to take 100 photos a day that'll be uploaded into there. We also, well, on this job, we need to make sure it's okay with the sheriff, but our safety guys come out and they'll fly a drone on most of our projects and take aerial photos so we can see, areas that we can't normally get to.
So the number in here, that's going to cover all that, and that's going,
Yes,
you're not going to charge us down the road for them pictures?
no.
That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all for being here. Just a couple of questions. I'll start off with one with following up Commissioner Hicks here. As far as working with the architect and Mr. Johnson back there, have you done a jail with them? Any other, not just a regular building, but have you done a jail with those, all three of those?
I think, now Eric's sitting back there, I think Eric was working for Joe Lee when we did the Carroll County Jail, weren't you? That's correct. So I worked with him on the Carroll County Jail 20 years ago.
We're currently working with Nelson on the state prison.
Okay.
Right now. We've worked with Eric at the airport as well, from SG standpoint, just to answer your other question.
What about with the architect? Is it have you worked with the same architect altogether, Nelson and them?
We worked with Nelson, yes. We're working with him currently. You're talking about the
yeah, kind of all three as a group. Have you been on any project with all three of those as a group, just out of curiosity?
Not together.
Okay, all right, thank you. Kind of along that same line on that, as far as the project, what would you say the most in-depth part of that project that is the most in-depth or maybe gives you the most complicated part of it for you as a team? Is there one specific area where it's administrative building, the jail? What part of it do you think would be the most complicated?
Yeah, so my slide that I kind of skipped over a little bit when I thought the time was running short was about the existing jail component. So the way the RFP is written, you have the administrative building, the new women's housing, and then you also have some work that's really to be later defined within the existing jail. And they show some facade upgrades, and then we assume some security and door upgrades within the facility. So I think for any contractor, that coordination and that work, just the productivity drop associated with going through the Sally Port, inventorying your tools, highly credentialed subcontractors, that's going to require the most coordination and upfront planning on the project.
Okay. As far as the jail portion of the project, that's where I feel like a lot of the in-depth stuff's at. It need to be a specialized type thing. Have y'all built I know you're working on a state prison now, but does that consist of a jail, just the jail part, not the administrative parts of it, anything else? Have y'all?
So also, I've worked on the Fulton County Jail.
Okay.
I've worked on the Clayton County Jail. I have experience, I think Eric may have been on the Clayton County Jail with 27 years ago. I've worked on numerous jails over our career. We feel very confident with working with the Sheriff's Office to make sure that we can make sure that we do this in a least evasive problem for you guys so that we're not getting into your way.
Okay. Can you give me a little bit of description on, as far as the jail cells itself, as far as what type they would be, how they'd be constructed or handled or brought in, or just kind of give me, I'm just kind of focusing on that part because that seems like like I said, the specialty part to me that's going to cost me, Dale.
I don't know that we know yet exactly now that we're doing Hayes State Prison right now, Ray Lynn is, and they're prefabricated cells. This one out here was as well. I'm assuming that's probably the direction that it would go, but I don't think we've seen any preliminary design work yet.
Okay. It kind of gets me to my next question. As far as just say if you was to win this contract now and we say we're ready to go to work on Monday, where are you at in the process as far as a budget, as far as laid out? Are you ready to hit the ground running and have meetings and kind of guide me through that where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say one part and you can add to it.
All right.
I mean, we have a full preliminary budget built out based on the RFP that we could go into any level of detail at a later time. We didn't know if that was part of the things you wanted to discuss today. So we're ready from that perspective. We had a schedule, which I believe that one was actually just like a short, condensed version of our schedule. But we have a multi-activity schedule outlining the different areas of work. Of course, all of this was done in a vacuum. But once, the contract's awarded, we'll immediately start coordinating and making sure we make whatever all the stakeholders' priorities are, our priorities to develop that plan. So yes, we'd be ready to hit the ground running. We've done as much legwork as you can do without the, getting the actual feedback from the people who matter.
Okay.
We hadn't had any collaboration with the design team yet.
Okay. If you won the bid, are you ready to hit that spot now and ready to get started?
Absolutely.
I think that's all I got.
So Stacy, you heard that.
Madam Chair, I got one.
We have a contract ready to go, if whoever accepts, and I don't want to wait 10, 20, 30 days.
Madam Chair, I got one more question.
Sure.
What about like relationship with correctional equipment folks? I mean, I know the door locks, I mean, all that stuff is going to be a lot more specialty type item.
Yeah, we have a lot of relationships with them. What I would say is that we sit down with the architect. And one thing that, to answer your question in a little different way, is that you're going to get all of these eyes on your project. It's not something that we're just going to go away. And me and him, you're not going to see us. I mean, we're going to be involved. We've already started looking at sublists. We've already started looking at vendors. We're sitting down with the Nelson team and making sure that we've got the right coordination, make sure the sheriff's office has what they want. A lot of that's collaboration, right? And sitting down from day one and going through it. And you know, when you look at your process, if we can sit down with you from day one, you said, when are we ready to start? We're ready to start at 3 o'clock today. We're ready. We've been studying your project for a while now, and we understand it. We may not be the best speakers, but we want your project. We understand your project. But we also want to make sure that we can get some local subcontractors involved in this as well. So if there's a way to get somebody to buy some material to help us or do stuff like that. And one thing that we would do is bring on some of these folks early. Like if we can bring on somebody like a West Georgia, if they're competitive, and then figure out where we can find the right source, the right material so that we're not waiting 16 months down the road when we're trying to finish.
Thank you.
Kind of do have one more question for Mr. Vernon, and I'm sorry I forgot your name. Jim. As far as being in control of that construction zone out there, are you comfortable, and what I guess, how much have you been in jails as far as sitting cells, building that part of the jail? That's where I'm just really kind of focused at. Administrative building side of it, and I got 100% confidence in that, but tell me a little bit about what you would do on that scene and how much have you done of that?
Well, as a matter of fact, the first project I ever done on my own was a jail back in Smyrna, Georgia, Smyrna Public Safety Building. And I learned a lot from it about door locks, door hardware, and the requirements of a jail because I've been doing administration for so long. So there's a big challenge. There's a big learning curve. Like you say, the biggest thing about a jail to me is security concerns. You know, anybody can come in here and tell you, we can build it. And believe it or not, it can be built. Anybody can build it. But it's what extra do you put in yourself to make sure it's done right, protecting the public. And safety is the biggest thing to me about this jail and the whole project over there, is you got to realize, you don't want to talk about administration, but when we did Carrollton High School, and I built it, we were 12 feet from an existing building, building a new building, with kids in that school right there, 12 feet. And that was just like a jail thought process to me. These kids can't come out of here and get into this construction site. And so it took communication with the school system, everyone, the same way it's going to take with this jail, because there's going to be different things that we don't know that Brad, Terry, or whoever's in charge of it are going to say, hey, Vernon, we need to get these people over here today, or we need to do this. And that's where that open door communication comes, where we plan this and we shift ourselves for safety concerns to make sure everyone gets in and out and goes home safely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jim, your whole career.
Yeah, for my 40-year career, I've worked in many jails, but the majority of more prisons. In active populations around the inmates, no problem working with that. I got great confidence.
All right. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, since we have no further questions, Joel will go ahead and turn our recording off till we transition to the next Ready? Okay.
Perfect.
Jalen, I'll now have you present our third group to us, please.
Perfect. So yeah, this is the final interview. Today we have the Carol Daniel RKR team. Just as a reminder for you guys, you have 20 minutes to present, 30 minutes for Q&A. And with that, we'll turn it over to you guys.
Perfect. I'll do my best to speak in this microphone, and I definitely didn't just run up the stairs to get here, so not winded at all. My name is Zach with Carol Daniel Construction. I know we've got to talk about ourselves and how great we are for the next 20 minutes, so let me start with this. We're humbled to be in the room. You guys have a lot of choices. It's a big project. It means a lot to us that we're even considered for it, so I'll start with that. Now, about how great we are. We think Carol Daniel and RKR together can give you guys that perfect combination. We have a saying in our office of, we want to be all the capabilities of the larger contractor with the hometown feel of a smaller contractor. And we couldn't do that on this one without RKR, especially here in Carroll County. So we're excited to present this team. With that being said, our team, my name is Zach. I'm the Vice President and Division Manager for our Atlanta office for Carol Daniel, and I've been in the construction industry for 15 years, and 8 of those have been with Carol Daniel, and I got a good team behind me, so I'll let them introduce themselves.
How are y'all doing? My name's Cameron Thomas. I'll be the project exec. I've been in the construction industry for over 25 years, and mostly local government experience, so happy to be here. Thank y'all for this opportunity.
Thank you all for having us again. I'm Richard Lusk with RK Redding Construction, Bremen, Executive Vice President, COO. I also play a lot of roles in pre-construction. I'm still an estimator at heart, I always will be. I have a 33-year-old career with RK Redding Constructions, only job I've ever had in my life. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Corey Johnson, and I'll be the project manager for this project. I've been with Carol Daniel now for a little over 8 years, and thankful for the opportunity to present today.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Landon Boyd, General Superintendent with Carol Daniel Construction. Been in the industry a little over 35 years, and the majority of that's been in local government work. So glad to be here.
And my name's John Fincher. I've been with RK Redding Construction for 31 years, and I'm superintendent.
Go ahead, Richard. You can start this slide off if you want to.
What I'd like to present to you is our locality to this project and what this area means to us. Randall Redding, our founder, has been with Kilgore, J&R, and Ray Lynn, you just saw, and started RKR in '91. We're a local contractor. We build a lot of projects down here. I have myself personally, and I really enjoy the experience every time. So we're going to be bringing the local element to this project with all of our relationships we have with people in this area, not just clients and architects and program managers, but our subcontractors as well. So our office is 11 miles from the site. We're very responsive to this, to your needs.
And as far as Carol Daniel bringing to the table, big picture, I mean, we've been a Georgia owned company for 80 years. We're one single owner. We have a ton of just occupied campus, difficult logistics projects, kind of like what you guys need to build here. We've done a lot of that with CM at risk delivery method, which is what you guys are doing. So we have strong capabilities in there. We have a huge pre-con team, and we know that schedule is everything. I always say that my job is to keep you guys happy, keep it under budget, and get it done on time. And usually, if we get it done on time, we're under budget and you guys are happy. So schedule's a huge deal for us. And then I just wanted to highlight, I know you guys can see the presentation, but the two guys in the picture, Randall Redding, on my left, but that's who Richard just mentioned, a staple in the community and a staple really in the construction community for a long time. And then Brian Daniel, our owner. It's a third generation owned company and RKR is now getting its second generation, and they've been friends for a long time. So for us, this is more than just we grabbed a local contractor. We've been friends in the industry for a long time, and we're truly working on this project together. So I think that's important for you guys to know.
So just talk about some recent experience. So this is a project that's currently finishing up. This is Cobb County Sheriff's Administration Building. Super tight site. It's, if anybody knows about the city of Marietta and the square, this is right on the square. Literally, what you see there with the little fountain there is my laydown area, is where I bring in materials. That's the buck hoist that we had up installing on the outside. So we're right now in the finishing stages of this. It's got, it's an occupied building while we renovate. So we renovated the third and fourth, moved them up to the third and fourth, and now we're finishing up the first and second. Matter of fact, about an hour and a half, I should have a CO on it. So they're having a lot of coordination with that sheriff and the county. But the biggest thing here too is we talked about complex logistics. This building has all, what you don't know is the main switch gear, the water, everything comes out of this building and goes to the different courthouses that's around there. So it affects a lot of buildings. And we had to change all that out to make new. So a lot of coordination, like we coordinated tonight for this CO. We're having to spring the fire alarm. So we didn't want to dump the building while everybody's trying to work. So we had to coordinate with the fire marshals local. So it's a very secured facility. We've got a Sally Port that's in the middle of this facility where they bring the prisoners in. We understand the logistics, and then it's a major renovation. So this is a very close kind of type project that you got.
Another relevant one to highlight, because a huge part of y'all's project that you have here is the sheriff, the admin space, right? And so this is a project that we just finished for Forsyth County, their new admin campus. This was a project we did with CPS, so we're familiar with them, and that matters because you're going to be spending a lot of time together over the life of this project. So relationships matter, and we've done a couple projects with them. This one's got it's a beautiful building that they can work in and function in, and also has all the complex systems that you guys are going to worry about, access control and security and things like that.
So another one we want to touch base on is the Cadwell Detention Center down in Cadwell, Georgia. Again, the similarities are a lot with this building here. Y'all have we've worked with Nelson, the architect down there, which is the same one here. That project had 30,000 square foot of renovation area, which was some medical area, some classrooms, a gymnasium, and some administrative buildings. And we also had 30,000 square foot of new construction, which is about 56 beds on the secure side. So it was a good project. The key takeaways on that, just a lot of coordination with the detention equipment, a lot of coordination with the low voltage and the security systems and all that stuff, and the commissioning kind of all ties together on that. So a lot of good stuff on that project.
Yeah, so the next project we'll look at is another recent project we completed. This is the Floyd County jail renovations and new medical facility wing. I personally worked on this project several years ago. It's up in Rome, Georgia, not too far down the road. Very similar aspects to your project, occupied jail renovation work. There were portions of this project that were not directly accessible to the outside. So really coordinating a lot hand in hand with the major for the jail. Ensuring not only the safety of outside workers, but also inside inmates, as well as the personnel from the Sheriff's Department.
Talk about pre-con here. Go ahead.
So a little bit of project understanding. So safety, it's got to be the number one priority, not only for our people, but also for the jail and how it operates and how the public operates. There's things that we got to put in to make sure that we understand the personnel with the contractor background checks. We've been through this. We've worked with the sheriff. Every one of our people at that sheriff's building goes through the sheriff's background check. We got to make sure that we do, tool logs so that we don't leave tools out in places they don't need to be, and performing, sweeps. Complex logistics, we talked about that earlier. And then we got to also have a schedule and make sure that we identify those things that's got to be purchased early, such as transformer. Everybody knows that Georgia Power is running a little bit behind, so we got to get the transformer purchased. And make sure that we get the switch gear and identify the other items. And then pre-construction, we got to make sure that the best value for every dollar of the taxpayer money is spent in the appropriate places. So those are all important.
All right, now I'm going to take 5 minutes and tell you my favorite thing about every single person on this slide. No, we don't have time for that. But I do want to show you guys, this is our pre-con team at Carroll Daniel. We have a huge resource behind these guys. This is all they do every day in and out is pre-construction, which matters. It means they know the numbers, they know what's going on in the industry and all of that. Here's what's also important. A lot of times what happens is your pre-con team does all the pre-con work, and then they hand it off to the project team that's going to build it, and there's so much that gets lost there. Here's how we prevent that. You're going to be dealing with none of those people. You're going to be dealing with myself and Richard taking an active role in pre-construction for this. So we'll deal with those guys. We'll get the market entry experts, and you guys have single points of contact that you can deal with throughout the project so that you're not bogging down with that. Anything to add there?
Yeah, thanks, Zach. I just want to say that I take these projects personal, every project. I look under every rock to a fault sometimes. I ask questions. I participate. I believe in face-to-face meetings and getting on the same page, and that's a huge part of pre-construction. I think Eric, and if Ms. Karen was here, they could attest to that. We've worked with them before as part of the team on a judicial project, and it was very successful and seamless. And I can couple that with the recent completion of the transfer station. I bid that project. I was the estimator on it, and then I handed it to a project manager that I continued to closely look after and monitor and help make things finish as they did. I hope you're pleased with that project. I think it very much went well and finished about 100 days ahead of schedule contractually, and I'm very proud of that. I know Mr. Skipper is too. At the end of that project, we returned about 4% to the county without being asked. I just want to, I'm not bragging, I'm just trying to tell you how we work as a CMAR. And it's not our money, so it returns to you. You'll hear people say stuff, but do they do it? I don't know, but I do. I'm proud of that, and we build in contingencies and allowances into our projects methodically and intentionally, and everyone knows where they are, they know what they are and what they're for. And it's all your money. So before it's spent, it's agreed on as to how. So it's another component of the budget and the hard cost. I just want you to know that. Our subcontractor participation is crucial in this project, and not in just tracking cost along the way, but also assisting in some design decision processes. During design, there's, well, you would rather do this or this. Can we run some diagnostics on cost to compare 2 or 3 options to settle on one so the design can progress? We use subcontractors to participate in that. We ask questions and involve them up early. And they know there's no guarantee they're going to get the work, but they're going to be in tune and familiarized with the project as it progresses and participating in our periodic estimate updates that are critical to see that the design is staying on within budget. We can't just wait till the end, get it drawn, put it out to bid, and find out it's over budget. So that doesn't work. So we lean on them, and they know that they're learning along the way, and it'll give them hopefully some advantage when it does come out to bid, and we've retained them as a local participant. And I'm not just saying, we're going to also get some metro quotes. That's what we have with Carroll Daniel. They have that market there and this experience with the judicial. We're going to take this thing like it's not a jail, and we're going to build it, but we know it is, well, half the project is, half of it's an office building. So it's nothing unusual to us. We're ready to build the project, and I love to participate in pre-con, and I do it in face-to-face meetings. I don't just send emails and make phone calls and say, are y'all looking at this and that? We sit down at a table, and we have scope conferences with them along the way, and that's critical. So I have a third of a century relationship with these people. Randall was 17, so in the last 50 years, we know everybody down here. And they work with us routinely because they trust us and know we're going to pay them the minute we get paid. We pay them the day we get paid. There ain't no money games. It's their money. Not ours when we get paid. It's theirs. So they know they're going to come to the table and work for us on our project for a better margin that saves you money. And it's hard for me to prove it to you by telling you. You'll have to see it. But I just do that. Anyway, thank you. I'm taking too much time.
Well, the good news is he kind of walked through a lot of the how we do pre-con in an effective way, participate with a local sub. So only 2 things I want to highlight here would be I think this is a differentiator for us from our competition, at least some of it, is both firms, we are equally competitive in the CM at risk market. And some of our competition won't chase stuff in the hard bid market because they can't be pricing competitive, but we can. And the win for you guys on that is now you have the largest pool of subcontractors to choose from, and not only the largest, but we get to handpick those that really matter, that are significant, because they're local, because they're qualified, because they have the expertise that matters. So I think we bring that to the table in a way that nobody else can. And the other one that I think is important, probably on this project, we have an in-house BIM team. I don't know if you guys are familiar. It's building information modeling, so we basically build the building in a computer beforehand. It saves with a lot of coordination and speeds up the project at the end. There's going to be some places on this project where it's relevant and some places where it's not, but we have that capability, and I just want you guys to know that. We did that on the Freedom Park campus, and it saved us a ton of time and made the project very smooth once we started construction. Moving into construction, go ahead, Landon.
So yeah, as we start talking about construction phase, just, want to talk about safety. I mean, that's a big part of what we do every day. Just having that site-specific plan put together before we even get on the project. Make sure we're communicating with y'all on logistics, separation, all that kind of stuff. We have everybody that comes on job site, we orientate them. All the employees go through orientation where we talk about site-specific things. So pretty much everybody runs through that. And we have a morning huddle every morning where we talk about safety, we talk about quality, we talk about schedule, with all the job foremen there. And that meeting may last 10 minutes, it may last an hour, depending on what's going on, but a lot of communication goes into that, and you have to be intentional on how you plan it.
So working on occupied sites, during my 30 years of being here at RK Reading, a vast majority of my time has been on occupied sites. So I'm very familiar with it. It's one thing that I pride myself in is working well adjacent and with others.
Yeah, just quick add, this team, I mean, we strive in that. I mean, anybody can go build a building out in the middle of the field, but being able to be on an occupied site and allow whatever activities need to still go on for that institution to function correctly is a big part of it, and that's what we like and what we enjoy.
So an occupied site, the key to working well on those is having a clear separation between our people and y'all's people. Obviously, this right here is a special case because of the security, but we will have lots of temporary fencing. We will see to it that's secure. We'll keep the bottom down here where the Sally Port and all's at. I guess that'll be the Sally Port. All that'll be left open. We'll use Independence Drive with hopefully a gate in the back so we can get started on the female housing unit, hopefully sooner, as soon as we're awarded. And while that's going, maybe we can assist y'all in moving out of the admin area and get y'all moved. And once y'all are in that area and settled in, we'll build our fence around it and start demo.
I think the biggest thing is this is a preliminary plan that we put together. Obviously, we would like to sit down with y'all and make sure everybody's on the same page and adjust it to y'all's needs. I mean, it's just something we kind of put together kind of for that area. So
real quickly, schedule's a big part of this project because that's going to establish how we're going to get through the project, from developing it, from incorporating milestones such as start from the beginning, from understanding where your design team, going through permitting, how we're going to price it, procurement, how we're going to buy everything, and the construction. We manage it in P6 as a collaborative process, and we make sure that the site's bought in just as much as we are. Real conceptual schedule here. This is a 20-month schedule. We need to, this might get, we'd hope this anticipates this to get better, but we need to understand what your design team and how they are and where they stand at. So once we have that meeting, that'll give us a better understanding of how the project's going to be built and what's incorporated.
Yeah, just real quick, just want to throw a quick snapshot of procurement and how we track it. Procurement's one of the biggest items and biggest drivers of a schedule any day and time. I mean, you've got stuff that lead times up to a year or longer on items. So basically, this is just a quick snapshot of the log that we use. We track it from the time it needs to be installed backwards all the way through the submittal phase, fabrication time, so that we ensure it gets there and arrives on time.
I'm going to jump in real quick. We only got 1 minute left, and I know I want to be respectful of your time. So weekly progress reports, we do this for all of our projects because you have a public to present to, and so we can tailor this however you want. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, and we like lots of those, right? We use Procore. It's kind of table stakes to be a leader in the construction industry these days. Everything is in one place for you and one place for us, and it keeps us all real organized together. Quality, I wish I could spend 10 minutes on this slide because this is a huge thing where we're really proud of our quality department, and we have guys on staff that this is all they do is go out on site and make sure that we as a project team are staying on top of that. Closeout and warranty, we have a joke in our office that we don't have 1-year warranty. We have like eternal warranties because I got a call this week from a client who said, hey, this thing happened from a job that was 4 years ago. We took care of it, right? We want to take care of you guys. And we know that closeout and all that stuff, you can ask CPS. We got all the closeout done before we had a CO on that Forsyth Freedom project. So that's important to us as well. Okay. I think we made it pretty close. So thank you again. We're excited about this one, so I know we always go over on time. We did it the last time too. We're excited because we think we can bring you a great product. We think we can bring you the local participation that you want and you need and all the capabilities of a large, capable contractor. So thanks again.
So I'll start with the commissioners with their questions. Montreal, any questions?
No, just one. Well, I'll give one since I asked the other company. You guys talked about pre-construction and spelling out the budget and things like that. What are you doing internally as the construction takes place in the process of just managing the budget and preferably keeping us under the budget?
You mean during construction?
During construction, yeah.
From stage one, we're going to issue the contracts to make sure that everybody's got the scope and we have a clear understanding. And we manage that by having our buyout meeting where everybody gets around the table and goes through the drawings and does a complete page flip. Then when we get out in the field, we make sure that their superintendents have it by having a pre-construction meeting with them in addition, to that to make sure that they understand their full scope. And then we're tracking it as we go through. Now, the one thing that I can take pride about, and you can call the sheriff's department down there, and I'd ask you to, we've had 0 change orders. Well, I take that back. We've had 2 change orders.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. We've had 2 change orders. One, we gave them money back because when we got through pre-con, we understood we were able to save some money, and they accidentally wrote the contract for more. The second one we gave back was a sheriff at the end had savings, and he decided that he wanted to add a real-time crime center. So now we've taken pride in being able to price that up for him so he can have his real-time crime center. So, it's all about a collaborative work, keeping you in communication and understanding that what we're giving with our contingencies and how we're tracking it and producing it at every single meeting and making sure that you understand where we stand on the project as we're progressing through. So that's all about the weekly updates and understanding the schedule, and it's all about us making sure that you're kept informed of where we're at.
Our goal is to not stand in front of you guys again and ask for money, so that's...
Commissioner Chance?
Thank you for being here today and for submitting to be the construction manager at risk. I've got several questions. If you could just answer them quickly as possible. I'm not looking for long-winded answers. As far as the time schedule, you went through that of how you would manage it, but looking at it on the front end as it's been presented to you, do you believe the project can be completed in the time frame that you bid on?
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, we've done similar. I mean, it's 100,000 square feet, 2 different buildings. We've done that several times within this time frame.
Okay. Explain to me as briefly as you can, construction manager at risk. What does that mean to you and your firm versus another way that another project might be bid out? What does it mean as far as your assessment?
So I've done a ton of it.
Yeah.
So just to let you know, that's all I've ever done was CM at risk. I've been with Carroll Daniel now for 2 years, but before then was 11 years with another company and 7 years with another company, and all I've ever done was CM at risk. And I guess the biggest differentiator is we sit down with the design team and with subs, as he mentioned, and scrub the documents and make sure that we have all the things that we see and identify those through RFIs and make sure that the design team and our subcontractors are on the same page. Things get left out. We understand that. And it's our job during the pre-construction process to identify those things and try to scrub the documents and get them done.
And you would agree, in summary, financially, construction manager at risk essentially means that you are working with the architect, and if there's a problem,
Correct.
You two are pointing fingers at each other. You're not looking back to the owner to come up with a check. Now, we understand if a plane fell out of the sky or soil issues, or if the owner said, hey, now that this room is built, I want to add an additional sink, then that would be something from owner's contingency. But as far as the responsibility financially, you are understanding and admitting that that is what a CM at risk is.
CM at risk is, yes, we have what's on the documents. We understand and we try to find every single issue that's on the documents. What we can't control, like you just said, is unforeseens. But I want to make sure, the one thing that I guess you said that bothers me a little bit is you said that we point fingers at each other. We don't want to point fingers at each other because we want a good working relationship. We want this to be a fun job for everybody. And it's a more of a collaborative team effort. We've all got to make sure that we're working together to get to the end product that you want. So.
And I can appreciate that, but there's also a lot of finger pointing that goes on. You would admit, I mean, that's a good political answer, but I've sat on dozens of construction committees, and when something goes awry, everyone starts pointing fingers. And I'm just simply wanting you on the record to admit that you understand the CM at risk model is when there becomes a problem, you're working together with your architect, however you want to call it, pointing, not pointing fingers, but you're coming up with the financial solutions and not expecting the owner to have to pay for that.
Here's, I think, the answer you're probably looking for versus a hard bid. When we bid what's truly on the drawings, and if it's on there, then we have it, and we don't. CM at risk is completely different. You're looking to us to understand and know what the scope of the project is and adequately cover that in pre-con so that we're not dealing with issues. And we are so familiar with that. And like Cameron said, giving money back to the owner is way better than coming and asking for more. So yes, sir, we understand completely, and that's how we plan our budgets.
2 projects with Cobb. One of them was we did was Osborne Rec, and the second one's the sheriff building. Both of them got money back. Like I said, please call them. They can attest to it.
You can call all the counties we work for as well, 4 or 5 around here, and ask them. They all get deducted change orders in general, unless we hit rock on a site and the allowances didn't cover. But a lot of times they push the allowances down, say, we just don't want to put that much in there. That's too much, and then it turns out it's not. But the allowances and contingencies, whatever they are, that is outside of the scope of what we know on the drawings and specs, are things that are in there for unforeseens in particular, and some allowance contingency for things that sink you may want to add. You need your own. There's going to be some things you want that nobody thought of. But as far as coordinating and getting everything with, you hire us and you hire a design team. The 2 of us together have got to get all this covered. That's why we're involved in CMAR on the front end while they're finishing these documents up, so that we can help color in all the gaps and get them and get them identified. That's where the science is in CMAR. And you get also the benefit of being more selective to your subcontractor selection. You're not just facing whatever you get on hard bid day and you got 20 subs and 4 of them are not too good, then the other 16 suffer. That's what happens.
And I appreciate everything that and I need to move on to the next question, but I want to hear a definitive that you understand the construction manager at risk. If you run into an issue that is something that you are working with the architect, that clearly either you or the architect, someone has not got something right, that financially you are responsible for that. I'm not talking about hitting rock. I'm talking about a design or anything that would go on that you're expecting to build. I mean, that's the whole point of a CM at risk, is you are managing the project and you are taking on that financial responsibility. So I appreciate what you're saying about all the things that you're going to try not to have an issue, but what I'm saying is we know there's going to be an issue. There's nobody we can hire that's not going to have some issue come up, and you understand that that's what you have bid on, is that process.
Yes, sir, we understand.
Okay, thank you. What processes do you have in place, and just as quickly as possible, as far as a review process throughout where you're trying to find problems maybe before they arise? Maybe you found something that didn't stick out to begin with, but hey, we're reviewing plans a week ahead of time or 2 weeks ahead of time. I mean, obviously this is a fluid process. So what do you have in place where you try to get ahead of a problem before it happens?
Are you talking about during construction or pre-construction?
Well, both. I mean, you're going to have stuff that you're going to miss, and you're going to pick it up, say, oh, gosh, we didn't see this, and we're going to get to this wing of the building. This can be a problem. What are you doing to constantly review? What process do you have to make sure that you're getting ahead of any problems?
So now that I think about it, it's probably the same for both pre-construction and construction for us, and it's just a lot of communication and collaboration. I know that's a buzzword, but for us, what that looks like is regularly intervaled calls, week, 2 weeks, with tedious meeting minutes where we're capturing what the intent of the design is, right? Even if it doesn't make it onto the drawings, we have some accountability there of understanding what it should be. And then we do regular drawing reviews during pre-construction. Typically, that's at a, schematic design and design development and construction documents. Those are kind of three natural ones, but we'll do as many as we need to till we get where we need to be, right? So that's how we do it there. And then in construction, it's the same thing. We have regular meetings with our subs, with you guys as the client, with the architect to discuss project issues and go through those. And then it's also the same thing of regularly reviewing the drawings. So Landon and his team do a great job of scope reviews and quality reviews where not a single material, not a single sub, not a single trade hits the site until we sat down in a room and reviewed, here's your scope, this is what you've got, you understand, right? Anything unclear to you? And we have pre-construction meetings with every sub, and we could pull up meeting minutes for a long time of just all that stuff. So that would
And
be
one of the
short.
things I'd add to it, he mentioned BIM earlier. We have clash detection. We do that in pre-construction. And that clash detection to understand where things are going to hit and how things interact and what works and doesn't work, that saves dollars, which also saves time. So, and then on top of that, we have a full quality control department where they sit down and we come up with a QC plan and sit down with the contractors to make sure that they understand it.
What type of communication control or communication culture do you have inside your company? And maybe one example is how you might deal with RFIs. So in other words, everyone would sit and say, hey, we're on top of things and we communicate great. But do you have a culture? Do you have a systematic process? How do you handle communication within your company? What's the culture look like?
So I think that, again, we take an RFI. Let's just say a sub found an issue on site. They submit that RFI to us. We review it prior to sending because we want to make sure that it's not in the document somehow. You wouldn't believe how many subs get kind of lazy and everything. So we do a thorough review of it. And if it is an issue, we submit it to the design team and we work with them to come up with an answer. And then once that answer, then we all operates during our Procore software and we get it back out to the subs and distribute to the team. And part of that is CPS and the owners, whatever owners, are copied on those RFIs so they know what's coming in and out. And there might be things that happen, like, I think, for instance, we had a fire marshal come through and add 20 exit signs because the code changed something. So those things are tracked those ways as well.
And one thing that I would hope you would have, Chick-fil-A is the culture I've talked about with the other presentations. No matter where you go, you tell them thank you, they all say my pleasure, right? That's a culture, and it's an answer that everyone understands. Same thing here. I would hope if you've got an RFI within 8 hours, you expect a response, 24 hours, or acknowledgement, 24 hours, you get a response. If you can't get something, you're constantly notifying. And that's where I'm going because things get bogged down or you have a 4 or 5 day lapse, and then all of a sudden something is holding up the chain.
So one of the things that you saw, we got to briefly touch on was those weekly reports. And a part of those weekly reports, we also have identify things that are critical to the job. So it's not only our communication with the architectural team, but it's a critical, the information's relayed to the whole team. Say these items are critical this week. We've got to get these resolved quickly so it doesn't affect the schedule and the budget.
Sure. If you had one attribute that you felt like you exclusively had that you bring to the plate, or maybe it's an attribute that you feel like you can do better than anyone else that's submitted to handle this project, what would that one attribute be?
Our team is bringing honesty, integrity, and transparency. And I know those are cliche words you hear all the time. Sounds like politicians, and national politicians. I'm not talking about you guys. I take this shoe and it might. I'm just trying to be funny. But integrity and transparency. We put stuff on the table. We don't have anything you can't see, and that goes down to these sub bids. We're going to get toward the end, and at the end, you're going to know you're going to see a bid tab for every electrical bid, every mechanical bid. You're going to be in the know, and we're going to have a process to where we vet those people, and if they've got something bad, they're low, but they've missed this, hey, they're out. Unless we decide to say, okay, how much for that? And you do that sometimes. Sometimes you're looking to get done with somebody, right? Sometimes you just know that ain't what we need. So we do that. We'll have bid tabs. There's where the GMP, the final estimate, just gets tabulated. There's bid tabs that total up, and then there are allowances and contingencies that I already talked about several times. The components of those two, plus the fee percentage and the GC, and that's the total, that's the GMP. So everybody knows where all the money is. So from that point, we just track it all and account for it. You know what's spent out of each line item of contingency and what for, and Procore shows that in live time, what comes out of it and what's left. It's very transparent if done correctly with the right intent, and that's what we're going to bring.
Yes, sir. My final question is your fee structure. So not taking into consideration what that final number is, but all the tallying that was put together, explain to me your ideology of how you came about with the number. And what I mean is, do you feel like it's super competitive? Do you feel like, hey, we put a number in there that we know it's going to be low enough we're going to get the bid? Do you feel like we left certain things out that might have been nice but maybe isn't technically needed in this process? Walk me through the ideology as management when you look at that final number. What does it tell you and what should it tell us?
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's competitive. You know, it's hard to know, but knowing that everybody, I think everybody partnered up for this job, right? And so our fee took that into account, and then we sat in a room for 3 hours together and went through the GCs item by item and said, hey, what are you going to do? What are we going to do? And looked at it, checked it twice, just like St. Nick, and believe we've got what we need in there to cover it. And it's part of it is the staff. Somebody could turn in something lower, but I think what you need on a project like this with a location here, a location there, and we don't really know yet when the internal stuff will be happening. What you don't want is a lean, really lean GCs where you're begging us for more people on site. We can't afford more people on site and all those. So I think we try to take into account the scope of this actual project and what we need to get it in there. Hope that answers that question. Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. I do have a funny story about Richard's honesty, if you wonder whether or not he's honest. We're actually also today turning in a proposal for another project that we're both competing against each other. We walked in, he told me what his fee was. So,
Still
honest.
told me his.
No, sir. Honest to a fault. So he's great.
A little bit. I don't know.
Any questions, Tommy?
I have nothing.
Okay, Steve?
Okay, to me, this is a very unique project in that you've got basically a hospital, a jail, and an admin building on a site where when you get done with all the demo, there's a jail sitting there. How many projects have you tackled like this? Exactly.
You mean, well, sir, we've done multiple jail projects, multiple admin projects, multiple occupied campus with multiple building projects. I can't say that we've ever built an admin building and a jail, mental health facility all on the same building, but we have done each component of that project multiple times and are very familiar with multiple buildings on one campus.
Well, how does this compare in difficulty with those projects?
It's probably a bad thing for us. We've gotten pretty good at those. Sometimes I beg for the sites that are just 60 acres of land you got to clear and build a building. Those are nice, but we have built a reputation of being the occupied campus expert. So when we look at this and the availability you guys have to be able to move out, so we can demo and start the new admin building and work on those at the same time, I think that's great. And I think Corey's experience with working inside a jail and the tool checks and all these different systems that you have to keep in place to keep that functional, because we know you guys have an operation to run and we're kind of in the way, right? And so we know how to make ourselves as minimal impact as possible. Yes, sir. So there's nothing about this that scares us. We treat it with a lot of respect, but we've done it before. So.
Okay.
So just give you an example right now. We're working on Cherokee Justice Center. We're going almost 6 stories in the ground right beside their courthouse. It hasn't started yet, but we've been in pre-planning. I have gone right beside Peachtree Street for Christ the King. I went 30 feet in the ground and pumped out. I had 6 wells going while, that was underground. So when I say tight sites, I literally, that is what I do. That is the methods and the means that I've worked, built my relationship and built my reputation on. So I'm confident, 100% confident on how to build on tight sites.
Thank you. All right, you mentioned, and I was glad to hear this, you mentioned tool logs. So tell me a little bit about your tool logs. How does that work? So we don't wind up with hammers and screwdrivers inside the jail.
Yeah, sure. No, that's a really great question because I've been in the middle of that before. So every day, subcontractor comes in. We try to keep minimal amount of tools and materials as we can on site as it is. Of course, we're going to have stuff to build with, of course. But ensuring every day that those subcontractors come through our checkpoint with their tools, we've got a log for every single subcontractor lined out, knowing exactly what they have, checked in and out. And not only that, making sure that these tools are operational, safety-wise, everything. A screw could have fell out of a drill, for instance. If you don't look at that and really know, that thing might end up somewhere that you don't need it to. So really ensuring that's a big thing. Making sure, like I said, materials as well, that bringing in just enough material that we need to complete that activity for the day, that material, there's not just leftover material left out. Some of those things can be made into stuff that they shouldn't be. So that's a big part of it too. But yeah, keeping those active logs checked through with our staff, ensuring that those exit and enter where they came from on a daily basis.
All right, good. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for being here.
Commissioner Hicks, you have a question?
I did, but I just went blank. Go ahead, Danny.
Okay. Thank y'all for being here. So as we get into this thing right here, tell me a little bit about, for me, the jail portion of the project is what I would think would be the most difficult. So tell me what your history is with building the jail out of ground like it is, and then kind of tell me how you think the precast, give me just an update on that overall view of it, I guess.
One of you guys want to take that?
Either way, on the construction side, dollars and cents, you've talked to these guys, construction side, we've kind of experienced on masonry, grouting, concrete, all that side, and also on the prefab side, on the steel. I have not done any of the precast concrete cells, but pretty familiar with the prefab, pretty much everything included, bringing, the access, logistics on site and how everything's going together. And the pre-planning that's so important early on in that job to where everything's kind of going together is a big piece to that puzzle, so, yeah.
Okay. As far as working with our architect, which is Nelson and Mr. Eric and them back there, have y'all worked on a jail site together on a project?
At Cadwell was with Nelson. We worked with them on that project. Yes, sir.
All right. And just say if you was to win this bid today and we say, hey, we're ready to sign a contract for you to go to work next Monday, tell me what that's going to look like. Where are you at in the process? Do you have a budget in line? Tell me how that you prepared to hit the ground running and what that would look like.
I would say that we got to better sit in a room, lock ourselves in a room to start with, just understand where the design's at. We got to get that at least understanding and get the ball out. But if we're going to start Monday, I would sit down with Landon and right now and John, and just sit down and start hone into our logistics plan. That's number one. You got to have that safety there. We got to put those parameters in place. Then after we develop the safety plans, then I would start saying, okay, then we need to understand the schedule. What are the things that's got to take place? Got to sit down with you as an owner to understand this is going to be first and then this is going to be next. What areas? We might have a different understanding of what's important to you about where you want to start in comparison to what we think we should start. And we need to have those conversations to make sure that we're all on the same page. Then we got to have the right subcontractors with us to start setting this project up and getting started off on the right foot.
Okay.
My question is on the jail equipment relationships with the different vendors. What Shaw's current relationships? Because door locks, it's like technology. Once you buy a new phone and walk out the phone store, the new and best one comes out on the TV ad the next morning.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where us and the design team, like I can tell you right now, we're dealing with the sheriff up in Cobb County. There's a certain low voltage company that does jail cells and holding cells and stuff. They're trying to do everything in their power to get away from. So I think that one, we got to understand what you prefer as an owner and then sit down and meet with the appropriate vendors that match what your expectations are. And then we bring those manufacturer experts in with us, and then us as a team surround ourselves with the right people to make sure that we're going in the right direction. But no, to answer your question, it's good. You know, we do deal with them. We do have conversations. We do understand their pricing. It's going to take a minute for us to make sure that we understand what you want and that, you know, as far as a end user, and you might prefer what the Cobb Sheriff doesn't prefer. So there's a lot of different things, moving parts there. And then technology changes, like you said. I'm talking, if I can tell you how many times door locks have changed and how we access it and access control and how controls were as simple as HVAC unit controlling the air in this room, how it's changed over time, it's amazing. So I think that, you know, as a design, you know, working with the design team and bringing those aspects in together.
Just real quick, you asked me one thing, the most important part of this job, it's that coordination with that contractor, that security suite, making sure that we understand, because that's literally, we talk about constructability, that really goes in before the project even starts, that communication with our electricians, with our HVAC company, with our commission agent, with whoever's doing the security on the project. There's just so much coordination that needs to happen early on and literally all the way through the job, and that's one of the most important factors of this whole project from my standpoint anyway. So.
All these conduits in this project, every wire's got to be in a conduit. You don't have any wire that's accessible, or they're going to have to be above hard ceilings and in a conduit as well. So we've done that, and that's just where it's going to be. And the locks and the way they interlock with security and cameras and all the wireless technology, all that, along with the sale, if they're going to be pre-manufactured. So that supplier, that subcontractor, and that consultant with the security people and the locks and the cameras and the intrusion, they're sitting at the table. They got to come sit at the table with us, with our electrician. Because the electrician can know where all these conduits are going to be going, and help advise and find out how many wires you're going to put in a conduit. Is 3/4 enough or 1.5? How many wires are you putting in the same conduit? Because that's a particular thing with data. So a lot to be coordinated. That's a good question.
Thank you.
I believe, Cameron, you mentioned the word contract earlier, so I want to make sure that if you're awarded this project, we're not going to be sitting here 3 weeks later waiting for a contract to be signed, and you're going to stick to the one we proposed, not any creative changes.
I can tell you this, Cherokee County, we got awarded the project. They had a signed contract. I think we got our contract on a Tuesday, and they had it back by Friday.
Okay.
It was quick.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further questions from the board? Great. So we will end our recording, and in a few minutes, I guess we'll move to the actual meeting. So.